Once hero always be a hero destroy. Everything as far as eyes can see, is devastated, like the giant itself decide to stomping around without any concern. If the enormous craters that are seen nearby are sufficient evidence, the earth itself burned, and smoke can still be seen emanating from it, as if the meteors had suddenly decided to descend. None of nature life is observed for miles, as the trees around now is nothing but a splinter and dust. They are replaced with large, jagged rocks, each large enough to pierce 5 or 6 adult men. Even the sky above itself is darkened, as if it was the spectator of what transpired below it, but it was definitely a furious spectator, if the lightning crackles are any evidence. In the middle of this commotion, 2 beings hovering. One was a tall woman, surpassing 2 meters in height, and her dress being that of loose, large kimono with magatama symbols, covering her whole body, from neck to feet. Her skin is white, so white that it may be compared with a cloud herself, same with like her hairs and eyes. However, for the latter, there are a third eye right in the middle of her forehead, red in color, with 7 rings. In between of these rings, Tomo symbol can be seen moving hypnotically. Right now, this woman exudes a chilling, gloomy, and dark aura that may make even gods shudder with horror. As for the second creature, he is a total opposite of the woman across from him, with his appearance alone is probable of that of small sun, with his golden lock flutter from the winds hitting his person, same like his robe that shining gold like a fire. Seals and magatama symbols are visible all over his body, with the exception of the black crescent moon symbol on his left back hand and the white sun symbol on his right. Hovering behind him is 10 black balls of utter destruction. Any rational person would conclude that he is a god who has descended to earth after just one look. Though a glance to his whiskered face and cross-shaped eyes that still filled with kindness, he is by far only a 16-year-old youngster. Currently, the woman and the adolescent just stared at one another. One plainly did not even weary while the other already panting hard. His purported slight tan skin tone get lighter and whiter in each second. Even his horns, from part of his hair bangs slowly falling down. How? Between clamped teeth, that was the only idea that crossed the youthful mind. As far as he can remember, the golden, surrounded teen realizes that he already fought the goddess in front of him for 7 straight days, without any rest, eat, or any drinks nonetheless, and as much as the other called him a stamina freak, he knew that his body cannot handle the strain on it anymore. He wants to joke. To remark that this is what happened if he didn't eat any ramen for long times. A week no ramen is long to him, no matter what the other side, but he knows he can't, not with his current condition. 7 days earlier, he just finished battle again, the one that can kill all humanity easy, the one that can call forth meteor with simple hand motions, and the one call himself as God and can walk away from it because his strength is actually like that of a god. The golden-haired adolescent was not struggling against that guy alone apparently, as he did it along with thousands upon thousands shinobi that ready to die. And dying they were, again so-called god, thousands easily become hundreds, and just as the conflict practically won by their union, it happens. A massive will given conscious called Black Zetsu suddenly appear and stab the god through his heart, but not only killing, that movement surprisingly makes the god of man suddenly transformed into the mother of all chakra, Kaguya Otsutsuki. Her will crushed the man's easily as she then gains control, and lived again after sealed for thousands of years. After it, everything went south when Kaguya instantly triggered Mugen Tsukiyomi, trapping all living things in a never-ending delusion. The one still awakens through this is only the teen and his best friend Sasuke. They fought her once more, gaining strength in the form of their ancestors' sage of the 6th-path chakra. Unfortunately, their hope is only unfounded because their ancestor, the exalted sage of the 6 paths, was first their mental helper and his vitality was already depleted in the mortal world. His last message is simple. You too must touch my mother, Kaguya, with the yin and yang seals on your hands, respectively, in order to seal her. Easy, right? No, to link even one technique to her alone. The likelihood is 1 in 1,000, didn't care if the technique itself powerful enough to blow the enormous chunk of earth with one shoot. This, make the current sight conceivable, with Sasuke Uchiha, killed first from the ash-destroying bone via his stomach. His body and souls obliterated within seconds. But those seconds is enough for Sasuke to send yin part of sage of the 6th-root chakra to his best friend, creating the symbol of crescent moon on his left hand. Despite another power boost though, it's as if Kaguya herself is playing with him, for since he obtained the moon seal, not even once he can touch her, as they just swapping and trading technique from distance. Fortunately, after the 4th days, the youngster's success at cutting one of the lady sleeved hand, as he did not squander time to murder Black Zetsu within. Its pleas for its mother help did not dissuade the teen from slashing it through with katana fashioned of truth-seeking ball. To the veiled chagrin of the teen, Kaguya just regenerated her hand and kimono sleeve without blinking. I believe I now understand the issue, Naruto. Come a dark gruff voice from the back of teen, now named Naruto head, yet it didn't make him terrified at all. What it is, Kurama. He is fatigued, both body and soul. Naruto recognized this, therefore that's why any plan for him now is very much appreciated. It's because you are not fully grasping at what your Uchiha friend gave to you. Although Naruto wanted to be upset by the obvious jab, Blonde knew that the moment was not right, so he remained mute and waited for Kurama to finish explaining. What I want to say is, what he provided to you is not merely the seal of yin and dad chakra, but everything. Inside Naruto mindscape, Kurama lets out a loud sigh. The nine-tailed fox occasionally wonders how Naruto, with his dense brain, is still alive. It actually creates a new way of stating, ignorance is blessed. Okay then Kurama. However, how can I accomplish that? At first, Kurama nodded sagely after watching the blonde learn rapidly, but then loud smacking can be heard across the mindscape as Kurama smacked its own forehead after the blonde's second sentence. Ignorance is blessing. It amazing furry butt. The wonderful Kurama was the biggest curse because of it, I see. Just try to sense it yourself. Kurama is not mad, of course he is not, he is after all, already grown up, unlike Naruto that's still in infant age. For Kurama, it surely did not mad at all, only irritated. Yes, that's the word, agitated. Hurry up, Kurama. Geez, you don't need to sulk, I try it. Kurama eyebrow twitched now, his bunny-like ears followed a little, and its large humanoid front paws is flexed to the side, as if just waking up, though inwardly, very much irritated with Naruto. From the exterior perspective, Kaguya can see Naruto closed his eyes gently, as if goes into meditative. This, make her feel frightened, just what is his plan now? Different from what Naruto assumed, Kaguya actually also winded by their combat, but she can disguise it wonderfully. After all, you pick any nice trick if live as long as her. Nevertheless, she remained still in Naruto form. After all, what if it was a ruse to entice her? Ninja after all tricky like that. However, inside Kaguya sending a thin smile, knowing her grandson reincarnate is not like that. She can see it after all. His heart is pure, kindness simply gushed out from his whole body. Genuinely, he is a sparkling beautiful jewel in this blackened earth. And that's also why he won't have to witness her purge this world of its inhabitants, since she will send him there as quickly and painlessly as possible. Word did not do justice. Unbeknownst to Naruto, Kaguya shot an ash killing bone to his skull in a blink without shattering his soul. With another blink, it was only a hair's breadth from his forehead. Swish. Madara do the same thing, and Naruto can evade it easy. But now is different. His body is weakened. His chakra already the size of river as compared to his usual ocean. More so he is currently focused, thus he merely did not have time to reply. Help arrived to him as with a thunderous roar, Kurama takes control of his body and shifted. Unfortunately, Naruto's neck was eventually touched by the ash killing bone, causing some blood to spill. And witnessing this, Kurama gives out a whining growl, and waited for the end that will befall. 2 seconds and Kurama then blinked owlishly. What the hell happened? But it was at this time Naruto wake up from his trance-like state, and opened both of his eyes, exposing a crimson eyes with black lotus-shaped orbs inside it, and he knows just what occurred. Sasuke gave him his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Tear of melancholy quietly ran down from both of his eyes, with the clear substance attracting Kaguya attention. Naruto is crying. I see. He plainly did not realize that he just was hit by one of her one-hit kill technique, the reason she can predict that he's simply now too much deep in his trance condition. But one glance to his eyes, Kaguya breath, nearly, hitched, that gaze, just how did he obtain them? Asura advanced body is no problem for her, as she can neutralize it with her gaze, and Asura chakra, she can just absorb it. Indra eyes also no problem for her, since she has the genuine final advanced state 1 in her forehead, therefore she too can negate it. But if both combined, I see. If Sharingan were put in Uzumaki, she would change into Rinnegan, which would happen minutes later. At that point, she would appear to be fighting her son Hagoromo. And considering Naruto's current state, she softly sighed and resolved to just complete it before Rinnegan awakened. Inside she slightly gritted her teeth. Her eyes connected with the current Mugen Tsukiyomi, and that imply, every live being that's stuck behind the illusion, she can see their memories easily. And so she actually already finished watching Naruto's whole life from every live being that has a memory about him. Such generosity, to forgive the enemy. Such drive, to always keeping on his pledge. Such commitment, to never ever betray his friend, even the one that deceived him. Finally, he was so naive that he failed to see the love that was directed at him. If only he were that kind of person, Kaguya would undoubtedly lack the courage to chop off even one hair. However, Kaguya was too deep inside to notice a fist that rocketed to her cheek until it was too late. Boom! With a shockwave, Naruto's fist sunk into the tall goddess' cheek. Even the air is silent from the huge shockwave, his eyes that of still eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, but with deep purple instead that of scarlet. Horya! Naruto elevated his feet in preparation to axe-kick the goddess as she launched her form. Kaguya, this time saw this as she built a portal and stepped inside, dodging the kick that she is sure would be harmed. Crack! It proved when the earth itself as if split into two and big crater appeared, Naruto's feet in the middle of it. He can now perceive chakra with his eyes, and his right palm instantly displays spinning chakra shuriken. Futen. Rasen shuriken, with a throw that create air surrounding him as if hurt, Naruto launches his technique into his right, where he could see his enemy shape coming out from another portal. Much to his unsurprised, Kaguya just lazily opened her palm forward, and another gateway emerged, this time consumed his jutsu easily. Pointless. Her voice is cold and heartless, which make Naruto somewhat tremble. The power in her tone is so clear, and it really required him to bow at her. But Naruto, hard-headed he is, would not do that, as with cross-shaped hand seal, he conducts his trademark jutsu. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. With a loud poof, 20 identical Naruto appeared, each began to rotate different kind of chakra in their palm. And knowing what is these tactics, Kaguya wasted no times to blast bullet-shaped ash-killing bones into the 19 clones, making them disappear with another bunch of poof. Not even disappointed, and if he did not show it, Naruto lowered his right palm to his one remain clone, as it then gathered the right amount of wind chakra, while Naruto himself sent normal chakra to his palm, along with big amount of Kurama corrosive chakra, and to balance all three, he used a tiny bit of, still overpowered to him, six-path chakra, the chakra that can make anything happen. Six-path art. Vermilion. Cocked his hand back, Naruto strained all of his muscles, then hurled the jutsu of his Rasen shuriken. One of Kaguya's eyebrows was raised slightly as the spiraling death flung itself at her, standing motionless like a beacon in the darkest day. And lazily, she opens a doorway in front of her to consume the jutsu. Kamui, however, this time, as her portal is engulfed by Kamui's black hole, Kaguya genuinely widens her eyes, if only slightly, in astonishment. This one filled with so much chakra that it can overpower her portal. Thin smile appears on the Kaguya face as she is faced with 3 times sized red and black version of this Rasen shuriken. But there was a basic melancholy in this smile of hers. She cannot be harmed by her grandson's reincarnate jutsu, not on this basic level. Shani. Boom. The earth itself as if trembled when the technology shattered miles upon miles of its body, leaving a huge spiraling dome of red and black. In the midst of all of this, Kaguya appears to be unharmed despite the rapid destruction of her cells. Naruto's entire body shimmered for no apparent reason as he chewed his bottom lip in fury. Unknown to most people, because Naruto and Kurama certainly noticed this, while Kurama is the one voicing concern initially. Naruto. This is. The blonde himself, merely chuckled dryly, his next words filled nothing but emptiness as his legs buckled, ready to fall at any point. It's not like anyone can see it, Kurama. Except, of course, Kaguya. And it's not like she would make fun of me before killing me. I just can't image her being like that. His body shimmering or not, Sage of the Sixth Path desires to deactivate or not. Naruto is not one to give up as with shaky finger traced some blood in his lip, then pushed it to his wrist, and with a poof, single 3-pronged kunai appeared in his hand, in its handle as intricate seals array. Honestly, because every trial just results in his clone body being unable to withstand the strain, he hasn't even perfected this yet. And even if they success, their body shimmered much as he's currently. But now, what is he going to lose? Dire action for dire scenario after all. Kurama. Did you have a bit chakra for my hand? Even if you go there and touch Kaguya, this is the last kit. She cannot be sealed without a chakra. Kurama's voice sounds worn out. Naruto observed this as he only smiled sadly and stared at his now totally shimmering hand that held the kunai, as if ready to gone from existence. Well, if that happened, at least I know that my final attack successfully landed and I touched her right. I see. I can die with smile at least. Inside the swirling red doom, Kaguya unusually silent, staring at Naruto's shape with a mournful face, as if can know what he and Kurama talking about. He in the end gives up and ready to die. Kaguya is not heartless. To someone like Naruto, in normal situation she would even send his soul privately to paradise. She would at least give his want to touch her with both hands, even if it's merely to ease his anxiety before he passes away, as she is aware that he cannot seal her without chakra. With a simple read into many IWA shinobi that trapped inside Mugen Tsukiyomi, Kaguya knows that the kunai in Naruto's hand can be utilized for instant teleportation, and that put her mind in a serene state, knowing it couldn't even damage her. And so, she waited. Half-minute later, the furious wind began to settle down, as Naruto narrowed his eyes and can only see blurry image of Kaguya, standing there, uninjured. Let's go Kurama. Our last shoot. Naruto's hand goes to toss the kunai, unaware that a goddess might easily read his weakened mind. For normal human, as Naruto throws the sword with a support from Kurama chakra, they would just see a simple blur, like a simple flash of dazzling silver before their skull stabbed. Kaguya is far beyond average human. She is a deity. This is a kid play for her. If someone can get so famous because of simple teleport, let's not forget that she can open the portal to any realm, and she also can dump everybody within her gaze to that dimension in question. But like she promised, she did not even move as the slow kunai become near, and when it almost stabbed her shoulder, weak force of gravity made it hovered inches away from her kimono. It's enough for her grandson reincarnation to teleport to her way, right? Her inquiry answered as she can see Naruto's shape gone in a flash of yellow, then reappeared exactly in front of her, two hands in gripping posture. However, his form made Kaguya frown with little fear. What with that haze that covered his full body? Reality itself seems to have bent and rippled like water. It's as if he is wrapped in solid illusion. Kaguya observes it. At first she imagined Naruto, Asura mode would be deactivated and his normal look, which she already knows from people memory, will come out from it. However, she truly did not anticipate that her weakness would abruptly take the place of her grandson's reincarnation. When they are standing side by side, his body shrinks repeatedly until his head does not even touch her breast. If it is possible to estimate his height, it is around 145 centimeters, or 4.7 feet. Obviously, there no such thing as garments miraculously shrink along moment right now, as Naruto now tiny body clothed with an obviously baggy clothes, giving him an attractive look. His skin tone began to develop lighter, until it was healthy pink-white in color, and if this combination with his now shortened whiskers marks, it gives him a look like that of cute kittens. Lastly, gone his blonde hair, now it was pure white in color, as white as snow with style like that of Sasuke when he's kid, only more tamed, and if mixed with his big, wide innocent cerulean blue eyes, it gives him the minor feminine aspect. Even Kaguya's brain froze as a result of all of this, with a trail of blood dripping from her nose and her eyes dazedly staring at her previous blonde new form. Fortunately for her, Naruto energy already used up, all of it. 7 days of fight began to take its toll on his body, and with his last energy, another fortunate for Kaguya, Naruto hands gripped on Kaguya kimono front in adorable fashion. She can even see that he snored cutely. The name alone suggests that the ability to create everything is overwhelming. And right now, Kaguya ignored all of these powerful bullshit, as she makes a big bundle of tissue. She promptly stuffed everything into her nose. Squirt. In no time, all of these tissue became red from Kaguya blood, and these amounts can even compare to that of 3 adult men's full blood, pretty much can kill anyone that lose that much. Except, of course, Kaguya. Dying in this manner would be such a paradise for her, but let's just honest, why should she do it? She can do other things instead of that, after all. Yeah, Kaguya said in a trance as she glanced down once again and saw Naruto's adorable, cute, perfect, Prince of Shota body twitch his nose. The legendary moment that may make even the mightiest heart disintegrated like plain dry paper. Doki doki, almost dying again, this time from heart attack, Kaguya produces another enormous bundle of tissue and press it to her nose, in no time making it red from blood. Fumu, this time, Kaguya did not have time to be ready as the albino Shota nestled against her tummy. She can even feel his cute tiny head stroking her underbust gently. Not only that, he even let out such cute sound. From so much stimulation, in the end many liter of blood gushed from her nostrils, knocking the goddess unconscious, her enormous sleeved arms possessively wrapped around the child. No thinking that really passed Kaguya's head, but from way her eyes rolled backward with foolish grin on her face and drool spilled from the edge, anyone would know that whatsoever within her mind can make most children scarred for life. After 2 weeks in the middle of nice room, casual yet royal-looking bed can be observed. Naruto, who was unconscious for the past 2 weeks, is sitting on top of the bed with a serene expression on his face. Kaguya is sitting in a chair next to the bed, playing with Naruto's silky white hair while wearing a dejected expression. UNNNMM. Then the sleeping boy shifted and let forth a gentle, melodic groan. His stunning cerulean blue eyes opened carefully, blinking a bit from the unexpected sunlight. Although there isn't any overtly sensual movement, Kaguya felt as though there was. Her heart says so too. Doki doki. Despite this, Kaguya's expression remained unchanged as she continued to stroke the boy's hair and occasionally ran her long fingers over his smooth cheeks while fighting the want to kiss it. She already did that several times in these 2 weeks after all, along with other things. Yeah. Other things? Wiping the blood from her nose, Kaguya redirected her attention back to the albino lad that effectively made her feel like this. With Naruto himself slowly, but gradually getting his bearing. Naruto's body ached, yelling at him to give up and demand more sleep. However, he disregarded it because he was aware that he had previously sustained more serious and deadly injuries. Some hurts like this is nothing. Who are you? Naruto asks, his eyes still not entirely prepared. He can only make out a blurry image of a person with Byakugan eyes and whitish-gray hair, but he only knows one person who possesses those traits. His tone is tinged with fear and reluctance. The latter was because he thought his body was natural, and that's horrible for him. He did not know how sophisticated his personal jutsu is, but he is convinced that there's no way someone as powerful as Kaguya would even blink for something like it. It was, after all, merely sophisticated henge jutsu topped with numerous layers of endurance seals and Kurama's chakra. Even Tsunade Bachan jutsu to disguise her appearance is more advanced than what he employed. Thinking back to her, someone he genuinely felt like his own mother, yet continually calling her otherwise, Naruto's eyes stabbed with pain, as it gets teary at fast rates. Not only her, but everyone he held dear in his heart, along with everyone from the Shinobi Alliance. Maybe from this melancholy, Naruto could not see that Kaguya peered at him with weird eyes, nor he understood it when suddenly his body encompassed in a tight embrace. From Kaguya nevertheless. What? He wanted to question, but the sound that come out from his throat is just cute squeak that only make Kaguya hug on him tightened, burying his head into her enormous bosom and making him smell her sweet vanilla scent. Dense as he is, Naruto still felt humiliated from his current circumstance as blood was going to his face, turning it scarlet from his blush, like a rose in the snow if compared. Really lovely. It's Oka. Kaguya sought to soothe the albino, yet Naruto, in his bewildered state, believing she is the one designed to wipe human from the planet, immediately shoved her off. Don't touch me. Despite his blushing face, Naruto's face filled with many mixed feelings, in which most profound is the dread and vulnerability, indicating his unique, delicate state, one of the reasons Kaguya let him shove her off just now. Okay. Her voice is callous, cold and monotone, making Naruto shudder more in fear. Unconsciously he pulled big blanket around his body in an appealing style of hiding. His wide, trembling blue eyes remained fixed on Kaguya's body, fearing that she would harm him if he ever lost sight of her. Well. From the strange light behind her eyes, she will do something, all right. Not that Naruto would let her do that. With his gaze fixed on and all, he even refused to blink. How long was I asleep for? Gulping in nervousness, one thing he can do in this current body, Naruto said, determined to just go bold instead wandering around. That was never his strong suit after all. 2 weeks. Naruto's eyes get more bigger now from shock, and also a bit faded. 2 weeks, with no shinobi trying to save him, or if they were already murdered. His mind began to wander off, and every avenue of mind led to the same question. Did that mean humanity was already annihilated? Even the concept alone made Naruto shivers in his most frail state, but knowing what he was thinking, is that just a thought? Naruto started to speak again, but Kaguya abruptly interrupted him. My person did not do anything to thou people. I believe we are stranded. At first, her manner of speaking made Naruto tilt his head in a cute way and fight the impulse to smile. It's hilarious to hear someone speak in an odd way. Now he knew what the others felt when his catchphrase came out from his mouth. But when the stranded word came out, also inside a normal sentence, Naruto froze. His cerulean blue eyes grow wobbly as he peered at his enemy. Questioningly. Kaguya's following remarks were unforgiving, much like her nature. We are stranded. In another dimension. Her tone, while cold and merciless, also had a trace of disdain, which Naruto ignored in favor to repeat Kaguya words inside his thoughts. He is stranded, not on an island or some unfamiliar city, but in a whole different dimension. Part of him was a bit glad cause with this Kaguya cannot kill the others, but another part of him genuinely felt empty. The question then comes out from his mouth. Then why are you not taking us back? The rabbit goddess shook her head lightly here. That vulnerable tone of him merely made her heart tighten in anguish. Softly, as he is the most precious jewel she ever held, Kaguya once again took the albino kid into her body, enclosing him in a hug. This time Naruto did not reject it, as he really needs it. Sob at first it was only a sob, yet slowly but surely it becomes a full-blown wail of grief. Ooh. Wah. Tell him to do something that even the most brave person would quail at, and Naruto can do it with confidence and a smile on his face. But separating him from his cherished people, Naruto would cling at the person that is nearest to him. And the scenario right now made Naruto's lithe hands grab onto Kaguya's kimono like dear life, burying his face into her cloth-covered breast and drenching it with his tears. Naruto could not have a pipe dream. If Kaguya chose not to tell him and merely console him like this, she must have her own reason and cannot do what he asked. Why she does this is missed by his current delicate thinking. How? Why? In his cry, Naruto could only ask something that to most people was very much non-understandable. But Kaguya is not ordinary people, since she pretty much knew what the lad meant. Not like she will answer his query, not now. Not with his frail state. She did not want her cute Naru shattered after all. Sleep. A red inhuman eye stared into Naruto's cerulean eyes as Rinne's Sharingan opened on her forehead. In his situation, he was powerless to stop his eyes from slowly but surely dropping. When the boy in the end fell asleep in her hug, a faint sigh emerged from Kaguya's lips, so controlled that it essentially non-existent. Then tenderly, she carried the youngster bridal style and rocked him softly after covering his cute, nude body with her long sleeves. Maybe from his melancholy, her Naru did not recognize his lack of apparel, much to her mingled satisfaction and anguish. Obviously, she is thrilled with the exhibition of that alluring figure in front of her eyes, but she is disappointed since it was not followed by him flustered, then concealing his body with additional sheets. Then he would have stated. And no, don't look at me why you be baka, it's embarrassing. Blood frequently trickled from Kaguya's nose during these weeks as she gazed at the boy's sleeping face that snored quietly in her breast, and his warm breath touched her bosom, giving her a goosebumps and a shiver of pleasure. To be honest, she didn't give a damn about those chakra thieves that her Naru was concerned about. But she has definitely cared for his mood. Luckily, she selected this specific measurement. With this he cannot go back, not without meeting with that creature. Her Naru did not require any monkeys, nor did he need those animals called tailed beasts. She can make him happy by herself, in here, only the two of them, and if there is some pest nearby, they better hope that they did not meet with her. Now, she really should think of a way to make her Naru happy after he understands there is no tailed beast in his gut anymore. Maybe he would offer her some kisses after that. Blushing deeply, Kaguya's breath began to get ragged as she glanced at her Naru's lips, those soft, enticing lips that sometimes touch against the fabric that cover her chest. XXXXX. Break, XXXXX far up in heaven. My lord, I believe we should face this newcomer face on and observe whether they are malicious or not. Beside a golden regal throne, an armored man can be seen, his whole body covered in gold armor, even his face. Behind him, 6 pairs of feathery wings can be seen, its golden shine simply illuminating the room. Additionally, he speaks with such respect and devotion to the person occupying the throne. But the man that sat enthroned only silent for several seconds, his whole form covered with thick silver light, rendered his form to be unseen. Is it truly what you felt, Metatron? Or is it your fear that forces you to say something like that? When he who sat in throne of heaven spoke to the armored man, now known as Metatron, with a questioning intent, he did not even flinch. However, he is certain that hearing his voice alone made his light buzz with immense joy. Yes, my lord, because for another god to just decide to stay in that place that is part of your domain is an insult in the highest degree. The light on the throne of heaven then lets out a sound that very much reminded Metatron of sighing, and he doesn't know whether it is good or bad. Metatron. You are one of my most loyal subordinate, so for now just trust me and don't do anything that can make these two entities angry. And if not for me, do it for your own life. Despite not liking the order given to him, Metatron nodded to his lord and placed his palm on his own chest. Yes, my lord, XXXXX. Break, XXXXX another 2 weeks time skip. He is a god. A god. Again and again Naruto repeats this inside his mind, but actually he cannot feel any happiness from it. Not like this. Kurama is not with him longer, but the Kyuubi chakra stayed inside his abdomen, along with other tailed monsters' chakra. Mysteriously, and every time he asked Kaguya, she clammed down and redirected their conversation into another. Very suspicious. These enormous amounts of chakra just exploded out of his body since he had no conscious control over them. In some circumstances it would kill a regular person, but as full sage of the sixth path he is, more so some support from Kaguya. These chakra did not injure him, only enhanced his body, saturating it with mixed 9 chakras. Simply defined, right now he is the Jubi, primeval god of tree. Naruto could sense it. Power pounded hard from every vein in his person, waiting to be unleashed, yet he felt despondent at his own incapacity to get back to his home, his own dimension. So what if he becomes a deity? So what if he suddenly is a something that many of his erstwhile enemies desired to be? If he cannot share this wonderful moment with his buddies, his relatives, his partner, honestly, he rather chooses death than this. He loved his family more than most families did, even if they weren't related by blood, because they are his mentors and the ones who shaped him into the powerful young man he is today. His friends are those who stood by him, fought with him, laughed with him, felt sad with him, and accepted him for who he really was rather than what others had said about him. They're part of his existence, and despite there being too many to be counted, more so after the war began, he always treated them as one, as his dear people. And ultimately, his people. The same people that had spurned, sneered, glared and scorned on his dream along with everything he did. Yet he changed them, their anger changed into love, their fear turned into admiration. With every step, he merely felt their astonishment glance at him. It felt nice. Not because he is greedy, cocky, or something like that, but because he knew, his desire had already come true. Everyone, not only in Konoha, but all throughout the nation recognized him for his power, his personality, his drive, and most of all his hard work. But suddenly, everything gone just like that, everything that he achieved from his blood and tears. Sat in the window of the modest cottage of his in Kaguya, Naruto closed his eyes slowly, his fingers gently drew Hiraishin Kunai in his palm. Speaking of Kaguya, she was quite supportive of him in these 2 weeks and she is really lovely when he got to know her. The careless side of her had even gone with time. A ghost of a smile and a cute flush suddenly came on Naruto's face as he remembered how she held him when he woke up 2 weeks earlier, whispering many nice things in his ear. I will defend you. Remembering about that time, Naruto blush increased, yet now that he thinks again, he remembers he felt something gripping his butt. Must be his imagination. All in all, Kaguya is very much displaying her deep loving side to him. She is even ignoring his state of body, much to his satisfaction, and did not insult him. Maybe he can live happily here after all. XXXXX. Break, XXXXX. Later sitting on his bed Naruto, clothed in pure white kimono, much to his shame, with a loose collar, displaying some part of his pearly white skin that's as soft as baby flesh. As a god, he actually did not need to feed, but deity's power enhanced by how close the god in question to their own territory, also their imagination. The latter is more essential, because with it a deity can manage their dominion. For example, light fashioned into sword, spear, pillar, spikes, beam, or simple burst to enlighten. It is possible to control fire to create spreading, burning heat or a tiny laser that can penetrate nearly anything. For a human that become a deity, they have a flaw inside their imagination, because they constantly believe that they must eat in order to obtain energy. Imagination is definitely a double-edged blade for all deities. They can control many things with it, but they also can control their own body as well and if not careful, in a negative way. That's also why, currently Naruto sat on the side of the bed while Kaguya is in front of him, feeding him by spoon. Kaguya? Naruto gently called as he awkwardly stares at the spoon that the goddess clutched. Reason, the amount of steam that's pouring out of it alone very much made Naruto uncomfortable, not including the burning that he felt yet. Yes, she, innocently, replied. cocking her head as though she wasn't serving him the hottest dish he had ever seen. Naruto's face gradually turned crimson, a strange sensation he had never experienced in his fake body, like a soft fire that had just been ignited. Shyness. With his body truly being seen, a feeling of self-consciousness began to boil up, and following it is shyness. Chewing his bottom lip, Naruto's shy reply made Kaguya inwardly drool more so when he stammered over his words like that. Isn't that a bit too hot ttebeo? Several seconds silence. Naruto reaction for his own catchphrases is to grow redder hue in his cheeks, followed by him staring into his lap and messing with his kimono like it's some type of amusing sight. Kaguya reaction. Firstly her eyes went into that of predator full of hunger, then after placing the dish on the desk, she grabbed both of Naruto's shoulders and forced him onto the bed quite violently. Naruto, not expecting this, found himself let out a familiar squeal. Eep. Unfortunately for him, Kaguya's Hinata-like squeak did not stop her. On the contrary, it made matters worse as her cheeks got red and her breathing became labored as she ascended the bed and started to straddle his waist, further embarrassing Naruto. K Kaguya. What are you doing? In response, she put her palms, which were covered by her sleeves, on Naruto's left and right cheeks, respectively, then kissed him on the lips. Naruto suffered a brain freeze here, if not from the suddenness of this circumstance, then from the question why she would do this. But he did not get any times as from his bewildered state. Kaguya's tongue viewed it as an opportunity and decided to go straight inside his mouth. Fully scarlet in the face, the albino boy letting out frightened shout and pushed away the goddess from his body, with her have this distaste look cause she is rejected from the sweet hole which is her Naru mouth. Just another second there, and she can taste the sweetness, she is just that near. Didn't know what Kaguya currently thinks. With flushing cheeks Naruto touched his own lips. That was his first with girl that did not try to kill him, and if he can be honest, it was enjoyable. Her lips is so soft. Thinking like that, from Naruto head a great quantity of steam is gushing out, drawing Kaguya attention, as she triggered her Rinne Sharingan and burned the image of her lovely Naru moment deep inside her brain. She can use this for masturbation sometimes. Phew. Ow. Overly ashamed, Naruto eventually passed out with a face so crimson that it made Hinata appear pale, all the while Kaguya committed the picture to memory. The temptation to rape the boy as he sleeps emerged from the back of the goddess's mind, but it vanished as swiftly as it appeared. She will rape her lovely Naru, but she will do it with his consent, not now, when he is not even acclimated to simple hug. Even a kiss made he passed out, but Kaguya is patient, as with weighing the reward will be much more satisfactory. For now. Maybe she needs to cool down her Naru meal before he wakes up. Kaguya. Can you now tell me honestly, why we can't go back to our dimension? Face hardened. Which makes him more lovely in that Shota form of his. Naruto peered up at Kaguya, who has her Rinne Sharingan and horns out for whatever reason he did not know. Though when asked, she just answered something like, to memorize the most gorgeous sight in the universe. I see. So he basically left her alone after that. Then he waited, with Kaguya, after burying the memory of her Naru's adorable serious moment. Deep inside her head, quietly sighed, her eyes peered down into Naruto's own seriously. A tinge of uncertainty can be seen there. Naru. Here Naruto started blushing, extremely uncomfortable that Kaguya called him that. This is the first time someone called him something so affectionate like she is, with the closest in the past being Hinata, who nicknamed him Naruto-kun. When chatting about him. I myself am not trying to lie to you. But I really don't want you to do something that is suicidal in nature. Naruto felt similar feeling of warmth in his heart, but he also earned a twitching eyebrow at Kaguya's brazen clear lack of confidence with him. And now he already thinks her as his friend. Indeed, he now views her as a friend and has already forgiven her for her previous actions. After all, if he is able to forgive Nagato, many of his beloved individuals as well as other Konoha civilians were slaughtered. Itachi that slew his own tribe and made his best friend's life twisted up. Even Obito who caused his parents' death and Kurama that kills them, followed also by the numerous former enemies of his. Simply put, Kaguya who simply killed Sasuke is more acceptable than that. But he really don't want to be underestimated like this. If the problem is a really big problem, no way he does something like going straight into it. He is wiser than that. Sincere, Kaguya. Naruto pouted in the cutest way, his eyes turning into a charming look that caused Kaguya to twitch. Not in fear, but in need to press him into her bosom, all the while crying, Kya. I see. She resisted it like a professional. Okay then, but I want something in return. Saying so with a very serious look, more than when she squared up against him, Kaguya getting Naruto's attention, who also became much more serious. The aura of an experienced leader practically excluded from his body. I guess. That's fair, but what do you want anyway, Kaguya? You know you can just ask me anything without doing this. Kaguya shook her head here, much to Naruto's confusion. No. My Naru, you won't do it if I simply ask. Naruto tilted his head adorably, wondering what she wanted. I see. The tension surrounding them broke like a delicate glass at Kaguya's following comments and turned into an uneasy one. What I want is a kiss on my cheek, from my Naru. From serious to shame, Naruto's face got scarlet from embarrassment. He truly hadn't expecting that one, so he do what he could in this current situation. He screamed at her. Kaguya, XXXXX, break, XXXXX. About an hour later, Naruto was sitting by himself in his bed, slowly processing the information that Kaguya had just imparted. The existence that made even the strongest god quake in horror, so much that they prefer swallow their pride and kneel to a slime than facing this monster. And currently, this being lived in the dimensional gap, the boundary that he needed to cross before he can get to elemental country dimension. Following that, this being is famed for assaulting anyone that simply gazed at it. Kaguya was reluctant to return to their dimension because of this. To be honest, though, Naruto finds this to be so corny that it no longer makes sense. A god, shudder in fear. I see. PFF'd. Yeah, right. It's not like he will disregard Kaguya's warning, though. He is simply a newborn, primordial god after all. Against something like that being, he would be crushed before 1 second can clock off. With Kaguya maybe can last for 30 minutes. From what he can glean from his goddess companion, it seems she was not even serious when she was facing off against him, and only used no more than 1% of her real power. The reason she was not serious is because she just wake up, and couldn't utilize her real power. That makes his pride drop and burn like basic dried paper. Knock knock, my Naru. You there? The call from Kaguya made Naruto jerk in some surprise as he then moved his focus to the entrance of the bedroom. Hold on for a bit, Kaguya. Scrambling from bed, the albino kid then walked to the door, his steps making a pitter-patter sound on the wooden floor. Click opening the door, Naruto is faced by the tall form of Kaguya that is staring down at him with that Byakugan of her. Her Rinne Sharingan closed and became only a slit in her forehead. She had also lost her horns, which were hidden by a sophisticated illusion. Naru. I want my kiss. Now. Saying so with face of sincerity, Kaguya only got a sweat drop from Naruto, his cheeks slightly flushed from nervousness. He turned his strange, yet passionate stare away from Kaguya because he was unsure of what. GG's, Kaguya, suddenly see coming only for tea that. It's not like simple K kiss from me is that nice. Dense protocol activated, coupled with some Tsunere-ish. Naruto adjusted his body sheepishly, face flushed sweetly. Kaguya reply is to force him into the wall, making Naruto gasped into her bosom, since Kaguya also pressed her tall body to him, and stared up at her with redder face. I want my kiss from my Naru. Now, face as if demonic in nature, Kaguya growled, making Naruto inwardly scare out, but strangely also make him feel fuzzy and warm for her earnestness for a simple kiss to cheek from him. He had never before experienced such a strong desire from a person of the other gender. Oh okay then. When Kaguya saw it, her Naru was clutching her kimono with his fist, which was adorable, and had a cute red face. He was so timid that he started to tiptoe in order to get close to her face. Obviously, at this point she already engaged her lucky Rinne Sharingan, for photographic memory it gave, also wrapped her long-sleeved arms around her Naru waist so she may pull him close and lastly leaned her face down a bit. Her eyes focused into her Naru face, notably that pink delectable lips of his that soon would be velvetly caressing against her cheek. She inwardly shivers in delight just thinking about it alone. When Naruto's lips were only a hair's breadth from Kaguya's cheek a few seconds later, she waited with bated breath, but the mere warm breath touching her skin had already made her groin moist. Knock knock, Kaguya, there is someone knocking at the front door, let me answer it Ibeo. Suddenly, just before Naruto's lips almost brushed on Kaguya's face, a knocks can be heard from the front door, causing Naruto open his eyes joyfully, and like an overly adorable kitten that found a new thing, he leapt out from Kaguya's hug and began to run to the door. I'm coming. Kaguya, at first silent, but then her eyes abruptly turned pure bloodthirsty and killing intent that might make a lower god pass out poured hard from her body, filling the room with such thick intent. Who in the name of the moon would dare Naru block me? Veins bulged near her Byakugan, and Rinne Sharingan spinning violently in her forehead, grayish aura of death began to envelop the goddess's figure. She will kill something, or some gods if whomever obstructing her from her Naru time is wasting his time. XXXXX. Break, XXXXX with Naruto, in front yard. The albino child is currently engaged in a gazing battle with a man who is marginally taller than average. This dude is pretty special, if Naruto can say so himself. Firstly, he utilized an apparel that is white in color, which covered his whole body except for some portions like his mouth, neck and palms, with a white mask covering his eyes to nose. However, blue eyes with a white cross in the middle can be seen from the hole in the mask. The male likewise has a white hair, and unlike Naruto's own that is pure white, the male is metallic silver in hue. And lastly, on his back, a total of 12 pairs of shiny gold wings can be seen, all feathery in form. He also has this pure sensation in him that made Naruto break some type of a smile for this special male. However, inside that purity, Naruto can feel the manly grief and distress, the grieves in every fiber of his existence. Yes, can I help you? Greeted Naruto with some pink in his cheeks since he doesn't know what this male respond to his tiny stature. Luckily, the man simply gave a slight smile. Greetings, you can call me the biblical god. Naruto's smile faded a little when he heard the man's tone, which was plainly filled with pride for his title. Excuse me? I said you can call me the biblical god, little hatchling? I see. Slowly, Naruto grew a twitching eyebrow at the apparent show of arrogance from the god in front of him. However, the biblical god inwardly inflated his chest while his countenance relaxed and grinned happily. This is going to be easy, he thought. Naruto's following remarks conveyed that idea as quickly as it appeared. And why should I care about that? Oh, biblical god. At first, the god was staring at Naruto oddly, as this is the first time he meet with someone that did not have any reaction after hearing his title. After all, even gods from other faction had some recognizement eyes once they heard his title. Plus the way Naruto spoke his title strangely made him feel the small of resentment erupted from his heart. But after several seconds of looking down, the god surrendered. Yahweh is my name, and 'tis my pleasure to meet you. The god bowed softly, considering the possibility that he was mistaken and that the god before him was perhaps one of the primordial rather than a hatchling. Naruto blinked. He actually told him his name. Well, that suggests he simply made a mistake in judging this Yahweh. After the war, Naruto was quieter and said, "My name is Naruto, it's nice to meet you." Yahweh responded with a smile of his own, asking, "So why is a god coming here for anyways?" Yahweh bowed a little lower than before when Naruto asked this, understanding that it was already regarded impolite to question this out of the blue. "I want to ask you a favor." Inwardly, Naruto grumbled, if Yahweh is actually rude like he imagined of him at first, he really would kick him out from his front yard, be he god or not. But since Yahweh asked him gently, Naruto at least can try to be more civil and heard him out. "What is it? I'll consider it after I heard your favor." Yahweh straightened his stance here, eyes narrowed under his mask. "Yes. That is understandable. I'll begin then. Firstly, I hope you know that this ground that you use as living ground is a battleground." What? Naruto's eyes widened in disbelief at this point, and Yahweh concluded that the primal was unaware of this, so he carried on. "I see you don't know about it, but it's understandable. For your information, since you live here all three sides have become silent and afraid to move. They obviously noticed the power you possessed." Digesting all of information, Naruto then glared into Yahweh's eyes with his own that is loaded with experienced combat warrior, making the god of Bible inwardly flinching. "Tell me your point." "Yes, I wanted to ask for your help so this place could become neutral if any of three side become more daring, make it so no one could fight here." While stating that seriously, Naruto plainly sensed the grief in Yahweh's eyes, as he already has too many weights in his heart, losing many of his underling. Just like what he felt when facing against Madara. Several seconds contemplating, Naruto in the end finalizes his decision, though he truly needs complete detail of the scenario, so that's why he now held his right hand in front of himself, waiting for Yahweh to bump fist with him. Only for Yahweh to raise his eyebrows questioningly. Naruto said, "Just bump your fist with me," while raising an eyebrow. Yahweh was a little apprehensive at first, but she eventually decided to trust Naruto after noticing that he had no evil intent. So bumped fist he is. Swish immediately, he sensed a strange energy entering his body. This energy brought with it a feeling that was both pure and warm, but it was also filled with frustration and misery. Waiting, Yahweh notices this energy moved in an act that as if it wanted to tell him something, though before he could try to hear it, Naruto has retracted his fist, shutting off their energy transfer. In contrast to Yahweh, Naruto is already aware of the entire story. For hundreds of years, there has been animosity between the angels, fallen angels, and devils. And their major combat ground is the spot he now lived along with Kaguya, but because they lived here none dared to move as anyone supernatural can simply feel their primordial level might. The deity in front of Naruto didn't like this war, he even still loved his children, that already had become devils and fallen angels. Each war delivered too many dead, and he doesn't want to lose any of his children anymore. I'll do what I can, Naruto said with a trace of a smile on his face. Even though Yahweh first has a rather arrogant demeanor, it's good to see someone like him. There are just not many people like him. Thank you so much. While slightly surprised, Yahweh quietly bowed at Naruto, sensing nothing but honesty from the primordial. To be honest, the first thing he did when he sensed strange energy in a battle zone was to identify it. How surprised he was when the energy felt like numerous kingdoms of gods converged into one being. Even him, one of strongest god, only used one domain for power and very much merely magic for another. But the kid in front of him felt like a mystery. Too many realms inside that body of his, compacted by such a strong, although tiny, body. 1 or 2 are conceivable. 3, while a bit rare, not impossible, but this boy. Fire, water, wind, earth, and thunder are the 5 realms of elements. 9 uncharted domain that he really cannot grasp what is it, nor he ever felt it as long as he live, and that's saying something. Though for the last realm, he knows what it is, plain destruction. However, Yahweh is cautious not because of it, but rather because of the final 2 realms, which he is quite familiar with. One of them was identical to his. It was pure, brilliant, and included a glimpse of creation itself. The other, though, felt the contrary, exactly like his dark side. This domain is ominous in nature, but no hate in it, different yet also same. Counting in his thoughts, Yahweh apparently can do nothing except be astonished. One entity controlling 16 kingdoms is simply unprecedented. Fortunately, this creature is pure, if a bit melancholy right now, but he must have his reasons. So with that as his last thought, Yahweh teleported back to heaven, praying the conflict will end soon without any losses on any sides. Shiny. Naruto obtained a twitching eyebrow again as Yahweh options of transportation very much make his eyes felt sore for a moment, what with that enormous flash of light for basic teleport anyway. Unknown to him, the huge blast of light can easily murder any high-level devils that glanced at it. When Yahweh is no longer visible, Naruto sighs deeply. What's with everyone going to battle over and again, whether it is his dimension or this new dimension? Didn't they comprehend that fighting just brings rage and pain? He really doesn't understand why people enjoy something like war so much. With that in mind, Naruto softly closes the door to his and Kaguya's modest cottage again, and this time, no sound can be heard from his steps. Kaguya was waiting for him when he entered the bedroom. Who was it, Naru? And what did that person want? Her voice is quite icy when she stated, that person, making Naruto tremble a bit from that coldness. Let me show you. Holding his fist to Kaguya, Naruto only got a solemn glance for only a second before the goddess wrapped her long sleeve around his hand. Below it her real hand carefully grabbed his tiny fist, caressing it if it was the most valuable pearl. Naruto shivered here. The way she held his hand really. What's the word? Suggesting. He was making suggestions for what he didn't know because the word just appeared in his head. Kaguya grinned amusedly as she stared at her Naru, clearly able to discern his thoughts by the way they were holding hands. He is just so sweet, confused at his own reaction like that. But now that she was fully aware of their predicament of these Warsa, why hadn't she observed anything similar? Inwardly she cheated for not even choosing a more fitting site for the two of them, and now her Naru would be forced to join himself in this conflict as the fourth side. No. That is not possible. She would not allow any vermin to shorten her Naru time, even if they were to fight in this realm. Not even for a second. He is hers, and anyone that dare come to this spot will die by her hands. She is going to make sure of it. I will take care of them. Her voice is soothing and comforting, apparently to make her Naru yield and let her do his job. But his face simply went redder in an adorable way, making her bewildered at first. Not that she dislikes it, every cute moment of her Naru is priceless after all. But then she realizes that their hands still connected, suggesting he can also hear her thought. He belongs to her, my Naru. Naruto became increasingly agitated as the thought of Kaguya continued to ring in his head. Eventually, he was unable to handle it and squeaked. Eep. Like a deer scared, Naruto hurried toward the bed and hid under his blanket, cheeks covered by a pink color. Behind him, Kaguya looked at him with more lust than before. He is just so lovely. The youngster let out a stifled squeak as Kaguya walked to the silverette beneath the blanket and glomped him over the cloth cover. His face turned redder when he felt the goddess's bosom against the back of his head. Kaguya didn't stop there. She started caressing every part of the poor boy's body with her hands, turning him into a trembling mess in her arms. He made a gentle, half-pleased, half-deviant moan with his lips and half-lidded eyelids. Kaguya licked her lips in want as soon as she heard his quiet groan. Knock knock. Just as Kaguya went to do anything more to her Naru, another set of knocks can be heard outside their little dwelling, and without wasting any time, once Naruto hears the sound he instantly released himself from the blanket limitation and tried to jump from Kaguya's hands. Or so he had wanted to. With an air of darkness encompassing her whole existence, Kaguya's third eye staring hard to empty space, but right into their guest, in front of her in her Naru residence, spinning hypnotically, genuinely wanting their guest to just go away. But knowing her Naru would be disappointed if she ever kicked a guest away, she succumbed and released her sweetheart from her arms. Didn't mean she can't be the one meet with this guest, though. She wanted to deliver her kindest smile to this individual after all. Okay Kaguya-chan, smiling, as he didn't know her goal at all. Naruto allowed Kaguya be the one greet their guest, as Kaguya mentally cooed at his trust in her, but didn't focus on it that much visibly as she just stood and walked to her house front door, her movement being light and graceful. Opening her front door, Kaguya can see the form of the biblical god. That has somewhat nervous look on his face while staring at her. Well, how couldn't he? When he tapped on the door, he was expecting Naruto to emerge, but he quickly realized that the tiny primordial was not coming when he felt such gloom seizing his heart. She is dangerous is the conclusion he has when he first sees this gray-haired, tall woman, so doing his best to smile at her without expressing the nervousness he had. Yaoi simply wanted to inquire whether he can see Naruto or not, only for this tall woman beat him into it. What do you want? The phrase makes it clear that Yaoi is not welcome to respond, but it also implies that he is not wanted here at the moment. Yaoi decided to simply make fun of himself and leave this woman as quickly as possible while trying to maintain a smile. I think I lost some of my properties in here, did you see them? No. With a bang, Kaguya shut the door in front of Yaoi's face, then goes back to her in her Naru's bedroom. Regretfully she can sense that her love is already half asleep, and she goes fighting against the death god than disturbing her darling's sleep. If he's sleeping, it's a benefit that she can masturbate while gazing at his adorable face. With spring in her steps, Kaguya, goddess of moon, fixed her steps toward the bedroom eagerly, a youthful smile almost coming into her face. XXXXXXX break XXXXXXX. Returning to Yaoi, he was still standing in front of the door that had just been slammed in his face, but now he was staring at it strangely. That was the first he had got rudely kicked away from one spot. Letting out a mournful sigh, he prepares a teleport for himself to return back to paradise. In reality, he only intended to offer Naruto something as a token of appreciation for his good deeds and to start a cordial rapport with the small primal. Well, there's always another time, isn't that right? With a smile and cheerful expectancy, Yaoi transported back to heaven. It's been a month since the day Yaoi asked him for a favor, and since then, the days of one Naruto Uzumaki is not that calm anymore. Each group chose to be more brave, sending their troops little by little, even angels, much to the white-haired primordial confusion. In which Naruto begs to visiting Yaoi at one point, and it's rather hilarious seeing a god having a jaw drop. However, sensing the effervescent sadness in the god heart, Naruto determined to fight his temptation to laugh. In any case, it was challenging to push all of these creatures when he was unable to fully manage the strength of his deity. In addition, he had to disguise his identity and refrain from using any Biju power lest he be suspected of being a Kyoto Yukai. There is no way he allowed the defenseless animals in this Kyoto to be singled out as a result of him. For him, it is a real struggle. Even though Kaguya was the one who was more enraged, her Naru time was severely cut off, and by the time 10 days had gone by and Naruto continued to go out, the moon goddess was traveling alone. It's a slaughter, with no one left alive, unlike with Naruto that, make sure everyone is only passed out. Despite Kaguya's persistent words and assurances that she wouldn't do it again, the little deity was pouting that day, and Naruto didn't forgive her until the evening. Following the aforementioned commitment, Naruto allowed Kaguya to battle the armies of 3 sides, only using the minority to strengthen his newly acquired abilities. I, the primordial, will punish any weakling who dares to cross my territory. His slight prankster heart is still there. Naruto makes sure to say that in frightening voice every time he killed a bunch of soldiers. This, truly is a decent technique as the numbers of armies going are greatly reduced in numbers since the new Jubi do that. After all, a primordial is a being that is considerably more powerful than God themselves. There are numerous known primordials, but the majority are either asleep or simply don't give a damn about something as insignificant as a weak conflict between 3 tribes. So knowing one stopping them from performing war, devils, fallens and portion of angels can do nothing except swallowed their spit in terror and retreated, for the time being. XXXXXXXXXXXXX break. Naruto and Kaguya house. Other than a few new chairs and a desk in the center room and some chairs outside in case Naruto wants to unwind and spend more time in nature, not much has changed. Few times, God of Bible is coming over, strangely did not talk about his own side that much, instead simply a little discussion about the weather and Naruto's situation. He even talked about the human that he developed and how he sees their potential, however feeble if compared to other being. It need to be mentioned that when Yahweh talked about human in general, he would always talk in quite impassioned and eager tone, unlike his typical placid character. He must be incredibly proud of his own creation thus much, Naruto decided. Though the former blonde also cannot help but agree at the Yahweh zeal as the boy himself also learned that human here may perform many fantastic things, without any chakra. So after several times they talked with each other and found out they had the same fondness for humanity, it is reasonable to term these two a rather good friends. Additionally, today is one of those occasions when God stops around for beverages and conversation. Ah, such a nice day, isn't it, Naruto? Yahweh stated with a joyful sigh. On his hand is a cup of tea that just now he took a sip. He adored this kind of vibe. Yeah, Naruto remarked as he takes a slurp of his own tea, sighed after that, feeling connected with nature at the moment. Though sadly, I felt that the storm is going to come with how silent the 3 factions right now. Yahweh can't help but nod sadly here, also knew that the 3 factions would never stop until they destroy the other 2 and be the last to survive. His heaven is same, even with the nice silent, the threatening holy aura that coming out from his offspring cannot be concealed. To think his children can do such a thing. I know, that's why I won't delay it anymore and give these 2 to you now. While saying that, Yahweh placed a sword and a ring on top of the desk, eliciting raised eyebrow from Naruto, understanding what's the weapon previously. The sword appears to have a grip long enough to make it a 2-handed sword with a circular pommel at the end. It also has a gold-colored cross guard that is slightly curled forward. As for the ring, it appears as a normal black ring to Naruto, with some unknown marking glowed for a second, and once it's gone, back into the ring. Excalibur ruler, you seriously would give it to me, Yahweh? Ignoring the ring for now, Naruto grabbed one of Excalibur parts, gripping it like amateur he is in a sword department, but nevertheless with care. You know I rather talk with my fists rather with a blade, I'm bad with them. The white head added before Yahweh can even say a word, getting the god for a millisecond have a twitch eyebrow, though soon disguised it with his little smile. Yes, Excalibur ruler is no use if what we want is peace, so I give it to you, along with this ring. Glanced at the ring in question, Naruto stared at it for a long 5 seconds without blinking, as if with that glance he can figure out what type of godly thing is this ring. 5 seconds later, Naruto puffed his cheeks in lovely fashion that would trigger one rabid goddess in her yearning if she ever witness it, which, thankfully, the goddess in question isn't close at the time. I don't have any idea what is this. Yahweh chuckled dryly, a drop of perspiration on the side of his head, having already surmised as much. Naruto is Naruto, the god learned this when he knew the small primordial. This ring, Yahweh started, pointing to the ring in question. You could say it's the ring that is used by most gods or goddess these days to conceal their deity aura. It also can act as limiter for deity and let them lower their power into their preferred power. And lastly, it can change the wearer's appearance, though this is mostly for gods that didn't have a human appearance. Looked at the dark ring in question, Naruto blinked many times. Quote. Limit deity aura and lowering their power level. Seriously. The boy also uttered it with deadpanned look, as if his idea about gods broke like a brittle glass at that sentence. Not noticed this yet, Yahweh nodded gravely, his eyes narrowed beneath that mask of him. Yes, as you maybe already know, gods didn't like to meddling in mortal problem that much, but they do interested in humans, that the reason they create this ring, to mingle with humans and live among them. Another sweat drop, honestly, he heard about this already. Some gods, just mix among people to sat their own lust, for example, is Zeus, creating child here and there, as demigods sprang left and right cause of him. Noticed what's on the mind of his friend, Yahweh giggled awkwardly, feeling embarrassed for the fellow gods. I'm sure, they have their own reasons. Naruto wanted to believe the silverette of course, but how can he if Yahweh himself weren't even sure by his own words? Well, not my problem I guess. By no mean, Naruto didn't plan to be a rude person, but there have been just so much things happen to him in these months and he, now still trying to catch up with it all, add the fact he needs to process so many information about this world too. Remember, it's really exhausting. Understanding he is, Yahweh only grinned at his pal. Anyway, with that ring you shouldn't have problem to conceal your deity aura, though if I may suggest, you should try to find another aura concealing artifact. 'Cause yours is abyssal huge Naruto. Naruto only sweat drop at his friend's remarks, seriously. Sure, he understood that his chakra is horrible, but surely it's not that large, right? Yes it is. Come a dryly answer from the deity of Bible after he deciphered the boy expression. PFF'd. The two just laughed together after that, and started talking like always, not worrying for any conflict that the three sides have made for the moment. XXXXXXXXX break XXXXXXXX. Underworld. Most people would mistake it for hell, but it was far from the truth. Well, but it's not that far away. The sky itself is gloomy, as if so late at night, thick black miasma coming in dispersion from the dark ground, as if it was a plague that cannot be healed by any measure. But despite the underworld look like this, there is a city in it, a really magnificent city too if one may say. And in this city, group of human-like creature, but with bat wings connected to their back can be seen, some talking with each other, some focus at the platform where one devil delivering his speech, and some just gazed at the ground. It was so close, within our grasp. The victory, so devils, don't let your sadness for your family dimmed away. Use it to fuel your anger to kill the angels and fallen angels. Our people are not so weak. Damn them. Our emphasis this time is about one youthful appearing male, maybe about 20 from his appearance alone, and currently he is clenching his palms so tightly that it turned white, his eyes blazing down at innocent ground. He hates them. He despises the angels and fallens who steal his family members, but the ones he detests the most are those who send his families away in the first place. Call him immature, accuse him of placing the blame elsewhere, but he truly despises his own generals and commanders since they are the ones who send his family to fight. It is comparable to his three closest pals. One of these pals calmly touch his back, hearing his curse. I'm sorry for your lost Serzek, we all going to miss Uncle Albert. Pang of hurt stabbed the guy called Serzek at the remembering that his uncle is not among the living anymore. He held firm nevertheless, else he is going to be seen as weak devil. I'm okay, thanks Ajuka. The green-haired male called Ajuka then took a glimpse at the female beside him. Her cold and uncaring countenance rather frightened him, but he knew she didn't mean any harm. They know each other since youngsters after all. I'm sorry for your aunt too, Seraphal. Seraphal, in question, merely keep her uncaring and chilly look, then glancing at her buddy cruelly. You don't need to, just tell us the plan you said yesterday. It was no secret that their parents is yearning for additional children to pamper, as the four is too old to be pampered longer. But, with this battle, what sort older sibling desire their younger born in the middle of this situation? None, and that's why, since few days ago the four began to design a method to stop this battle. Speaking of the four cunning teenagers, the fourth one is still standing behind Ajuka with his eyes closed, but it is hidden by his hair. However, the other three can hear his snores, which makes Serzek and Ajuka laugh. Seraphal is not too kind to this, as using magic, she produces a puddle of icy water, then splash it directly on the fourth teen head. Fwah! Spluttered water that gets into his nose and lips. The tall teen scowled at Seraphal with his bored-looking black orbs, which she returns with her monotone gaze. That was uncalled for, Serafal. You're sleeping, it's your fault, Falbium. But you can wake me up with another way. Ignoring the two that began to bicker with each other, Ajuka smiles at Serzek, sweat drop at the side of his head. Should we stop them? Nah, Serzek shrugged. Knowing these two will come to their sense in time, tell me your plan. Ajuka narrowed her eyes and simply nodded. I'm thinking we should ask. Before he suspended his words, Ajuka already got the attention of his three companions. They leaned forward, except Serafal that simply sharpened her ears. Ask who? The question was posed by Serzek, but Ajuka only glanced around before tilting his head toward the road. Let's go to my house, we talk on the way. At this moment, the three realized that a large number of devils had already assembled to hear the devil's speech from the podium. So giving Ajuka some nods, they followed him to his house. Several minutes later, when the group didn't see that much high-class devils anymore, Ajuka said softly. The one I mean is the primordial, I think we should ask for his aid. His three buddies didn't show it, but he knows their mind genuinely falls into disbelief for several seconds, and as a friend, he understands why. Primordial is an unknown being, no information on him, her, not even the tiniest bit. But no matter how much he thinks, this is the only way to halt the conflict, or at least, protect their family. But Ajuka, from what I heard from them who survive, primordial or rather malicious. Ajuka glanced at Serzek, who had spoken it, his lips tugging amusingly upward. Primordial themselves never killed any of our people, except 2 weeks ago, and that's too is not that big of a loss, only a few hundreds. Why do you think that, Serzek? Scratched his cheek, the red-haired youngster think intently. It's because he or she don't like violence. He guessed properly, as Ajuka bowed his head, smiling faintly. Yes, I think alliance can be made if my guess is right. The three know better than to question their green-haired acquaintance because the four have known each other for a long time. But now, is the first time they harbored minor doubt regarding his idea. XXXXXX break XXXXXX. Kaguya and Naruto's hut. Naruto, sitting cross-legged atop a tree, let out a deep breath and opened his eyes, which were now marked in blue rather than orange. It's saddening that he didn't have contract with Toad anymore, as it fiercely teared when he arrived in this world, but at least he still can use his sage mode without any trouble. And it's not weakened at all. This world is more complicated than I thought, he muttered while gazing at the sky, feeling happy by seeing clouds hovering around. He can easily perceive one nation in elemental nation by using sage mode and a small amount of Kurama chakra. This supercharged up more when he and Kurama paired up, and while it sound easy, he is confident he can sense half of Earth at that time. Then it advanced again when he acquires Haguroma chakra that signify light. Naruto is convinced he already deity level at this point. The reason, since he is confident he can sense the complete Earth at that time, albeit very hazy, which he now may assume because he lack human belief on him. Gaining yin chakra of Hagoromo, then Ra chakra of 9 Biju. His need of human believe and pray is no more. His senses also are more sharper even without using sage mode, Q for inside cute dance here, and what he sensed just now, let him realize how wide this world is. Sure, that the only dimension that encircled by dimension gap is just one, but in this dimension, there are numerous sub-dimensions, which he is sure the palace for many gods. A sweet grin gently creeps into his lips, at the same time, a part of his blue orbs gain a sinister crimson tinge. Naru, dinner is ready. Snapped back into the actual world, Naruto joyously hops off from the tree and began to sprint into his and Kaguya house, never observed the shift just now, as it also gone totally before Kaguya can notice. Wait for me, XXXXXX break XXXXXX. Tomorrow. This morning, Kaguya is happy, her mood climbed tremendously onto the roof. No, reach the heavens. The rationale of it is very clear for regular individuals. Usually, Naruto would wake up before Kaguya to train his deity's might in his daily jutsu training. However, it appears that this is not the case today, as Kaguya can see that Naru is still dozing off in her arms and cuddling up to her clothed chest. She doesn't want to wake up if this is a delusion. MNNNN. When her Naru giving out such a cute voice, Kaguya breath began to get rough as she leans down, intent to wake him with a good morning kiss. It's going to be their first good morning kiss. Her gaze were fixed on his adorable sleeping face as her lips gradually got closer to him. Just as their lips almost touched one another, Kaguya's eyes widening in surprise. She sensed that 4 signatures had invaded both her Naru domain and herself. Thought to disregard it crossed Kaguya head for a second, and the goddess tempted to do exactly such. However, her Naru would disappoint in her if he ever knows. Kaguya then gets off the bed and transforms into a blur, running to where she felt the signature with such a heavy heart and clenched teeth. Her 3 eyes burning ferociously, particularly so the third one, her Rinne Sharingan. These damn bats. XXXXXX break XXXXXX. Few hundred meters away, 4 youths can be spotted. Sue, how did we start anyway? With both hands intertwined behind his head, the redhead in the group spoke as though he hadn't just entered the red zone for 3 races. I don't know, nor do I. However, it appears that Fabian and Serafal are also fearless, since they appear to be at their most composed. When Serzek noticed that their 4th member remained silent, he looked at Ajuka and saw that he was deep in contemplation as he softly tapped his chin. This time, what's on his mind? Asking that inside his brain, the redhead flung his arm around his friend's shoulder, breaking him from his thought. Yo Ajuka, what we are going to do now? This is your plan after all. Ajuka's eyes narrowed when she initially stared forward. His answer to Serzek sounded somber. We are going to kneel, and don't look up until Primordial told you so. So he just does that, leaving his companions looked at him with odd looks. It was then they felt ominous atmosphere that make their heart as if about to stop, approaching toward them at high speed. No words exchanged as the 3 followed suit and kneel, their forehead forced to the ground, face sweating heavily. That was first, is the idea that passed Kaguya head when she already stood in front of the 4 devils, watching them knelt at her like low creature they are. Some of her angs fade, though only slightly. What's your business coming here, devils? Even Serafal, who is usually stoic, shuddered at her wicked tone. Gulping back his spit from anxiety, Serzek determined to be the one said the reason they come here. Lord Primordial, we come here to ask for your help to put a stop on this useless war, because we already tired of losing family members. She responds to them with silence. Apparently, they thought she was her beloved Naru. However, after digesting their plea, Kaguya had pretty complicated look on her face. Her Naru is lonely, his heart still retained the pain for cannot going back to Elemental Nation. The only friends he has here are God of the Bible and, much to her dismay, her. Thinking for a full minute, she in the end made her decision. Raise your head devils. Hope flooded the 4 hearts as they do it and led a gentle gasp at the tall gorgeous goddess in front of them. However, they shudder at her 3rd eye, which is staring at them and pulsating with such force. Follow me. With a blur and shockwave, Kaguya then ran to the way of her little cottage with her love. Her decision is determined, and she would give friends for him, and if these 4 chose to betray him, she could always kill them dead, then console her Naru to have some. As for the 4 in question that didn't know the goddess' dark mind, they grinned like a fool, except Serafal that simply let out a tiny smile. Let's go guys. Let us finish this war. Serzek shouted as he let his demon wings spread and take off for the Primordial. His 3 pals followed suit with a chorus of, yes. XXXXXX break XXXXXX. After a few minutes, Naruto just sat under the shade of a giant tree with closed eyelids, feeling pleased when he felt nature embrace him tenderly like a father would to their children. However, he felt something unusual with his sense. Kaguya is blurring to this way, behind her is 4 devils, as if following her. Deepening his sage mode, Naruto can sense these 5 feelings. Kaguya is delighted, but thinking of something nasty, if her inner glee that he can feel can be used as proof. The 4 demons is also glad for anything he cannot determine. Oh well, it's not like sage mode can read thoughts anyway, simply the feeling of sentient beings. At no periods, Kaguya arrived in front of him, then smiling at him tenderly like normal. He felt the slightest of flush crept to his cheeks. Naru, you awake. Her smile expands, as if forgetting about the devils that follows her for a second. Would you like a tea? Naruto nodded, smiling pleasantly at her while deactivating his sage mode. She's really kind. Sometimes he puzzled on why she's cared so much for him and why she's always determined to pamper him. But oh well, it must be what people mean by actual best buddy. As Kaguya went into their small home to prepare him some tea, the 4 devils suddenly materialized and descended a few meters away from him. They are perplexed as to where the Primordial has disappeared to, and they are also curious about the identity of the adorable, otherworldly girl in front of them. The redhead, whom Naruto guessed as the leader by the expression of respect the other three exhibited for him, then takes a step forward, and with pleasant grin questioned him. "Excuse me, little girl, but this place is dangerous, are you lost?" Blinked for few moments, Naruto peered around, then stared at Surzek with Title's head cutely while pointing to himself. "You talk to me, Datbeo." Serafal takes a step forward this time, blushing a little, and then leans forward to project the image of a big sister while attempting to be as adorable as possible. "Yes, you see, here is very dangerous and cute girl like this shouldn't be in this place." At the backdrop, her three pals glanced at Serafal with curious eyes. "Ajuka, you know what happened to our usual cold Serafal?" Surzek muttered, making the green-haired male tapped his chin for a time, then replied his companion inquiry. "You know her, she expected a sister, but never got it, so seeing such a cute defenseless girl, I believe this is her suppressed, Onisama, attitude." While the three boys devils discussing on how cute Serafal seem right now, Naruto stared at the female in question blankly, not knowing it only made him look cuter. Serafal fights the want to give the young lady a professional glomp. "But, this is my house." Four devils blinked and looked at each other. The girl must be human that the primordial taken care in tenderness, and the reason she raging through all the conflict is to make sure this cute girl is safe and sound. So smiling pleasantly, Serafal's confident the primordial is inside the modest cottage she can see and decide to question the attractive girl. "My bad, then can I ask whether we four can talk with the primordial?" "You know, the woman that takes care of you." This girl observed them descend from the sky and did not panic out, therefore she at least have knowledges about the supernatural. From blank, Naruto expression got absolutely deadpanned. However, at this point, Kaguya walks out from inside the home, bearing a tray that has a tea, which she placed beside the girl, like a servant. Holding the tray, Kaguya stood next to her Naru like a trained and watchful maid, saying, "I think you four misunderstood. Primordial you want to meet is not me, but my Naru, which you also misunderstood for girl. He is a male, I assure you." She is offended to learn that these devils refer to her Naru as a female because she is neither a lesbian nor even bisexual. She prefers cute, attractive boys over girls, and she never will. As for the four devils, they have a disbelieves eyes and slack jaw, again, except Serafal that only got slightly widen of eyes. They still scream as loud, though. What? I see. I think I understand. Now inside the house, Naruto stated while taking a drink of his tea, his eyes closed after listening the complete story of the four. He earned small admiration for them at their resolve and, screw anything, attitude to protect their families. That strangely reminds him of himself after all. So the four devils waited and waited in silence for some minutes. Naruto, though, didn't appear to have any else to say. And from impatient, Surzek forces himself to speak, palm tightly clasped. "See, can you help us?" Naruto eyes opened, and it held such compassion as he glanced at the four devils, but simply concentrated to Surzek for now. But there was just melancholy in his voice. "I can't, after all, who am I to stop it?" He's not being gloomy, rather, he can see more rationale now that he has Sasuke Yin chakra. Normally, he would just go punch something and make amends. It's also the time he obtained his pure white hair. It's apparent with his Uzumaki blood, which housed such intense DNA of Hagoromo. When he acquires Hagoromo full chakra, he really and literally is Otsutsuki right now. Kaguya remarked so herself, thus his immaculate white hairs. He's not sure why it can't just be red, but to be honest, he was a little disappointed. As for Surzek, he clenched fist tighter until it white. "Please, surely with your power it was possible." Naruto merely shakes his head, and his following remarks pretty nearly make the four depressed. "If power alone is enough to make peace, I wouldn't just sat here and do nothing." It was short, but he knows what the cute primordial imply. The three sides don't care about him. Sure, he has power, and it can stop the battle. However, it is merely postponing the inevitable. Peace would never come to the three sides if it's only like that. After all, resentment is ingrained in a person's spirit and clings to them like a parasite. And in the end, suppressed people would rebel and create battles all over. It's never-ending circle of hatred. To his friend's surprise, Surzek smacked his own head to the ground after taking a step back, yet he didn't lose the light in his eyes. "Please, Anything is okay. I just don't want to come back home and seeing my mother crying in grief for losing a family anymore. Here he stopped and began to shake. Quote, I want to protect my family better. Naruto's eyes show a hint of surprise, followed by a faint smile. He resembles this man. How about you three? The Goatling asks his Surzek buddies, and they respond with serious nods and determined gaze, much to his admiration. Then, what did you four think of becoming my pupils? Four devils widened their eyes in disbelief, especially Kaguya at the suddenness of that query from her Naru. He made a charming impression by blushing and scratching his cheeks after noticing the four looks. Well, I may not be able to stop the war, but I can give you strength to protect your family better. Smiling softly, Naruto titled his head. So how is it? The devils can't help but have a mind numb, cannot think clearly. They want to obtain help from Primordial, and even the little help would be immensely welcomed. But they never expected that they are going to be asked whether they want to be his pupils. For them, it's simply astounding. Nevertheless, the four yelled simultaneously out of fear that he would retract his remarks simply because they took too long to respond. Yes. Here, Naruto giggles adorably, and their pranks are endearing. He is unsure of whether he is acting appropriately, not to mention that he is aware of the repercussions of his actions. But one thing he sure as hell is. He rather goes bury himself and die than let the fire in these four devils quenched. It's been a month since Naruto accepted the four devils under his wings. Let's just say that they didn't let him down. A lot. You need to do better than that chilly head. He wasn't kidding when he stated he would go provide them enough power to defend their family. And that's why at the moment Surzek that called as chilly head clenched his teeth, doing his best to lift his arm to offer a punch to his teacher. His arms didn't heed to his thinking though. How can they, for the sole purpose of warming up, perform 10,000 push-ups, back-ups, and sit-ups? Then their tutor compels them to fly as fast as they can be within 100 meters circumference while dodging all the energy bullets he sends into them. It's almost difficult, despite being devils they are. Small break, then proceeded again with one-on-one battle where their purpose is to protect from their teacher as long as they can. Let's just say that they simply have a cut wound, bruises, and an excruciating blood cough. This was their courses every day. Their teacher didn't have any restraint when educating them it seemed. Come on arms, move. Gritting his teeth harder, Surzek glared fiercely at his own hands, and thankfully for him, this time his arms moved a bit. Smack. Unfortunately, Naruto, who was standing in front of the redhead, decided it was a good opportunity to deliver a forceful blow to his obstinate redhead pupil, obviously causing a slight shockwave as flesh hit flesh. GHHK. Like a rocket, Surzek shot into a tree, shattering it into half. Then another, and one more. In the end, Surzek was planted in a quite large rock, his head limping with blood trailing from the side of his head as trees following trees broke in half without mercy. Naruto looked at each of his pupils individually as he whispered, I already told you that you cannot take on my next level, even if you four ganged on me. Each of them had moderate injuries and passed out, oh well. After making 4 clones, each Naruto takes his pupils to the front yard of his home and arranges them side by side, then crossed their legs and sat in front of them. His eyes were heated as he glanced at them. He has been amazed by these 4 only by their willingness. Sure, they have good talent, but they never talk about it to anyone, despite it only make them train twice as hard. And it's what made them good students in his view. He remembers when he questioned them why they didn't practice by themselves, cause certainly they can go far even without him. And the answer made he smiling at that time. Talent, what good is that if I can protect anyone? Surprisingly, it comes from one cold Seraphol, her eyes blazed at the earth that day. He only becomes more motivated to train them. To grant their wish. XXXXXX break XXXXXX. Half an hour later, 4 students of Naruto groggily wake up, their eyes opened and closed from the agony their bodies feel. Hey. Winced from another bolt of pain, the 4 divert their focus to their giggling teacher, faces seem irritated. Naruto simply grinned more when he saw this. I give you guys 5-minute break before we start next part of training. The last training phase is similar to the third, except instead of being one-on-one, it is a team tag match in which Naruto fights his 4 classmates simultaneously. Their goal is to successfully hit their teacher. One time. Let's just say that, in contrast to the third section, they were never able to strike him. Surzek and the gang blanched, their bodies has not even recovered yet and can't move that freely from discomfort. But their eyes were filled with an awful urge to strike their teacher, they even glared at him while merely grinning naively. Why such determination, you ask? I really hope some of you can hit me today, Chili Head, Moss Head, Baldy and Sarah Chan. That smile of him, no matter how gorgeous or sweet it is. The four gradually got twitching eyebrow as they glared harder at him. Naturally, this simply makes him smile more. The one successfully hit him, their teacher vowed to not call them with these nicknames anymore. So, please do your best and don't force yourself, okay? It was true worry that is shown in Naruto's eyes, worry for his kid's well-being. However, he cannot halt the training because if he does, these four will undoubtedly become upset. And witnessing this deep fear did the four died out their glance and looked to other direction. Their teacher, sometimes perplexed them immensely. He can be so immature at times that they question if he is truly a god. At another time he is so smart and soothing them with warming words. He is a sadist in training who enjoys seeing others suffer. Even so, he has more frequently showed them kindness, concern when they are in pain, and a charming smile when they perform well in training. He is enigmatic, but the four likes him for he is anyway. He is like a lovely light while they encircled by deep darkness. An oasis in the middle of desert. He offered them water when they were thirsty. Of course, that was him. Kaguya, let just stated, no comment. Nevertheless, the four stood with determination radiating from every inch of their bodies as they gazed at their teacher once more. We will, XXXXXX, break XXXXXX. That evening, Naruto sat on Kaguya's knee on their bed, the goddess, arms lovingly encircling the youngster, who was just comfortable but had a thoughtful expression on his face. Something disturbed him, and Kaguya waited patiently while putting a little kiss on top of his head. She loves how soft his hairs felt and the smell of grape that's coming from it. And because of his ignorance, Naruto simply interprets this as her showing affection to a loved one. And some minutes later, he talks. Nay, Kaguya-chan, stopped her delicate kisses to his head. Kaguya lowered her face down right beside the boy's ear, her warm breath makes him slightly shudder for some reason. Yes, my Naru, it's been more than a month, and Naruto still can't help but get a tinge of pink on his cheeks each time Kaguya phone him with that personal call for him. It makes him feel needed, but in a positive way. He attempts to relax himself, ignoring his pounding heart. Do you think I'm doing a right thing? Taking students, I mean. Few people are aware of his true nature, which is shy but kind. Hell, it can be argued that handful people know about such stuff, much so about the genjutsu that mask his true body. His grandmother, Tsunade Senju, placed the genjutsu in question after a blood test revealed that his body would not age. Stuck in 5 feet 0 feet, or one can say, a 12-year-old kid body. However, Naruto's hands were adorably gripped to Kaguya's big kimono sleeves as he shook his brain from wandering thoughts and awaited her response. At least 4 seconds passed before Kaguya softly spoke to him in a whisper. It depends on why are you asking, Naru? Her words as polite and suggesting, making Naruto once again tremble for some reason he didn't know. If you think that you're not becoming a good teacher, then let me tell you that you did a good job teaching these devils. Slowly, Naruto squirmed shyly since he felt Kaguya's lips touching his ear, making his blush redder, but he still heard her all right. She's correct, he did believe he is not good enough for his students, and this has been chewing him up for a week now. Oh, certainly, he already teaches Konohamaru in the past, but it was something that didn't even can be taken seriously, as he simply teaches simple how to transform into nude lady with henge to the tiny grandson of Hokage. Well, the most crucial aspect of his sexy no jutsu is concealed in a large plume of smoke since he isn't completely nude because it's not like he has ever seen a nude lady. Anyway, that's what he teaches to Konohamaru, and only that. And Rasengan, of course. That lead to his current issue, where he thought that he's not good enough for his 4 demon students. Oh, certainly he felt slightly better at Kaguya's lovely words, but it was only slightly whether his heart still thought that he is not skilled enough for his students. Really? Of course, I wouldn't lie to you, Naru. Kaguya reassuring words followed by her dragged her affection closer her chest, where her endowed kimono-covered breast mashed hard against the boy nape. And with it alone, the happy boy's neck to lower jaw is devoured by the goddess breast. And if he is red before, now Naruto's face is truly crimson as color that make his mother's hairs pale in comparison. His concern just now as if forgotten as Naruto hands that grab to the goddess sleeves trembles from fear. Kaguya-chan. The goddess senses it. Her Naru palms trembled while simultaneously putting some effort to push her arms away. And she ignores this as she keeps holding him carefully and with so much love, like he is the most essential, yet fragile object in the universe. SSSSH, don't be scared my Naru, I would never do anything bad to you. Her voice is incredibly peaceful, calming, and lovely. However, Naruto's palm continues to shake due to an underlying tone. Kaguya never notices this, but definitely notice her love shoulders is not so stiff anymore. Waste no time to offer a smooch to the boy's scorching cheek. Her palm gently caressing the boy cloth-wrapped chest and stomach. The goddess has high expectations, but her Naru's intense shiver and subsequent fainting after a mere kiss are not among them. Kaguya is mute at first, gazing at her beloved in her arms with a wanton-like expression. But all of a sudden, it disappears and transforms into soft smiles as she holds the boy. He's so cute. Oh, my Naru. She's not mad, not disappointed. Her eyes merely reflect caring and affection for the boy she cradles. I love you, Naru. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Break. Tomorrow, Naruto made the most of today's favorable weather by training his pupils more diligently than he did yesterday. His heart already ceased worrying that he is a lousy instructor, and he is glad for Kaguya for it. The goddess in question presently standing several meters away and observing her Naru instructing his students with an inscrutable glance. Since this morning, her love refused to talk to her. Oh, definitely he is having such a cute blush and venture his look away every time she attempting to talk to him. But without saying something back to her, this is inappropriate for the goddess. She is going to punishes him this night. Shiver. As if a bucket of cold water splashed to his body, Naruto found himself shaking for some reason. Naturally, he chooses to ignore it in order to focus on his 4 students who are already undergoing their training. Hellish it's not, but efficient nonetheless. Chilly head. Giving a warning, Naruto let a bullet of wind shoot from his palm to his red-headed classmate, making him grumble and grab the ball of wind. Splash. Serzek crushed it easily with one hand, then continued his one-handed push-up despite heavy amounts of sweat that poured from his body. When Naruto sees this, he nods and then, without warning, does the same to each other one by one. They successfully evaded, blocked, or parry all the hurled elements and continued to progress their body muscular training. Compared to a month ago, their sense awareness has significantly improved. However, like his body is only illusion, Naruto form gone with a blur, even his energy signature cannot be sensed by his students anymore as they feel tense, but didn't dare to stop their exercises no matter what. Swish. A sphere of compressed wind travels from above to Sirich's back with an air-cutting sound. And only discovered this at the last second, the redhead can only grit his teeth as the skin on his back got cut a bit. Swish, swish, swish. Many projectiles followed after that, as one by one the classmates of Naruto realized their body got shredded from compressed wind. Every one of them, except Seraphal that gracefully avoids all of the harm projectiles that attempt to harm her being. Eyes closed, but she let out such concentrated aura that makes her buddies can't help but held their breath from watching her alone. Right now, one might wonder what's so hard about dodging their teacher assault, considering as devil there, they can smell magical energy used in the strike, right? Well, no bad luck, because the projectile in issue is moving quickly, even though they can detect their teacher's magic during the attacks. Fast. The issue was that they were unable to predict the next location of the attack because they did not know where their teacher was. However, it appears that Seraphal started to understand what her teacher wanted them to learn because she was able to avoid the majority of the projectiles that were aimed at her. Swish, 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 swish. Again and again, virtually invisible sphere of winds goes to Seraphal, and because this time there's many of them, add the fact all traveling to Seraphal, no one astonished that Seraphal can't avoid all of them and opt to block some instead. The Citri family heir winced when a sphere struck her vulnerable stomach and back, even though she had previously crossed both palms in front of her. Despite this, she maintained her composure and continued to perform push-ups without saying anything, even though she was aware of the training she was meant to be doing. Ahead of her, the form of her cute teacher formed, smiling proudly at her. But it's gone fast as Naruto stared at all 4 with unknowingly cute, strict look. Come on all of you. Faster, faster. It's not even 2000s yet. You want power. Work for it, Dabayo. Naruto students gain some red in their face, resisting the impulse to giggle at their god instructor catchphrase, not wanting to offend him and have him punish them. However, even Seraphol, who was notorious for her aloof demeanor, acknowledged that their teacher can be rather adorable at times. So exercises harder they are, their hands crammed, their body heavy sweating. But of course, never give up as they just keep going. After all, hey, this is just the first part of training for today after all. I see. Dawn has come, and 4 devils are sleeping on their back, staring at the sun that is going down, the sky filled with gorgeous orange color. Sat close them as Naruto, also staring at the same thing as his students, but periodically took a glimpse at his students with a light smile. He exerted more pressure on them than the day before, yet keep going they are. A little chuckle emerged from his silky lips, attracting the attention of 4 devils to his direction instantaneously. Sensei, why are you laughing? The one asking that's Ajuka, his breathing ragged and fairly risky, but save for no outward evidence of him being exhausted. Though of course, the truth is his body felt such much hurt that he is sure tomorrow he's still going to remain feeling sore. Naturally, this is the same as his friends. Nobody will lie about how much their bodies hurt. Naruto asks, glancing at his student with green hair. I'm just happy. Obviously, they want to go for a minor jab that he is sadist for pleasure seeing wounded like this, but Naruto gives them no time as he continues to talk. I don't know how to say this, but you 4 really remind me of myself when I still kid. Of course, he used kid, because he knows he is still young right now. Hell, he is younger than his students as they are generally at 20 while him still 17 inches. Full of energy to protect what's precious to you, I honestly happy for you 4. Seeing their teacher smiled like their mom would to them when proud, warm and bubbly emotion pouring out from their chest, as they too can't help but letting out a cheerful smile. With the exception of Seraphol, who simply turned away, her cheeks had a faint pink tint. Cerzek and Falbium are the only one noticed this as they snickers, prompting Seraphol sent them her harsh stare, silencing them instantly. Comfortable, stillness envelopes the 5 as they stare at the dawn sky. Naturally, though, Cerzek soon breaks the silence by asking his teacher a question. He and his friends had been wanting to pose this question for weeks. Sensei, can we truly become strong? A trace of fear is there, making Naruto took another glance at his students one by one and he can see all 4 have uncertainty in their eyes. Of course, why do you ask? He didn't call Cerzek name, cause he wants to hear everyone reason, which they realized nearly soon. They don't want to exhibit this part of them to someone who's kind enough to coach them without even knowing who they are at first. But truly, they can't help it. It's just, can this war really stop? Ajuka is the one asked that. They develop stronger, that's true. In reality, though, all they want is for this war to end. Although the birth rate of devils is low, especially between 2 pureblood devils, Ajuka and the other are terrified. Their parents are expecting children and doing it every day to obtain it. They don't want their sibling to born in this conflict age. After pondering his response for a moment, Naruto uttered it when the 4 were on the verge of giving up and their teacher remained mute, indicating that he was also unsure. I believe anything can be achieved as long you do your best for it, Dabayo. His 4 classmates' hearts burst with warmth as a result of his genuine, believing smile. But dread is still there. One by one, they reveal what has been bothering them lately. You're asking a bit too much, Sensei. Again, it was Ajuka. His voice was dry and sarcastic. I can't even protect my family by myself. A picture of his benevolent uncle flashed across Sirich's mind, and like his companion, the redhead had a trace of sarcasm in his voice. We lack experience, and our enemy is nothing to scoff at. From one side is God and his seraph, then other side is governor of fallen angels. Falbium's fist clenches so tightly that it almost instantly turns white when he speaks at an unexpectedly serious moment. And lastly, we are only kids, Sensei. What can we do? It's not like we want this war to happen. Of course, it was Seraphol. Her tone so icy when she stated, what can we do? Even filled with nothing but disdain for her own vulnerability. As the 4 expressed what eating their mind one by one, Naruto fixed his gaze to them with mournful eyes. Trained by him there's no way they can destroy God or greatest fallen angel with 1 month alone. In essence, it's just a pipe dream. Naturally, nevertheless, it is his responsibility as a teacher to help students pursue these unattainable goals. The Shota Primeval takes a glimpse at Ajuka then. I only ask one thing of you four. And that's to believe in yourself and your friends. With these, I know you can go through any obstacles. Ajuka is one that's more logical compared to his classmates, and that's why he merely diverted his glance away from his teacher. He sincerely wanted to believe the words of the one educating him. However, do you think I am always this strong? Their teacher's startling comments pulled his student's attention toward him with wide eyes, and seeing this, he grinned in sorrow. I once weak like you four. No, I'm far weaker than human at this current age. His disciples plainly wanted to declare their disbeliefs in his statements. After all, he is a god, and even the weakest deity can defeat human easy. But when they observed their teacher staring at his palm, then clenched it with narrowed eyes of irritation, they decided to quiet their mouth for now. I'm very weak, craving for any attention I could get. My dream mocked by everyone. They said it's impossible. They said I won't be strong enough to fulfill my dream. The boy's eyes snapped at his four students, making their breaths softly hitched from the intensity inside these soft blue orbs. If you could say my dream is to be a Satan, let me tell you. In the end, 5 of these, Satan, kneel before me and let me lead their armies to the war. It's a cage though, not Satan, but there's no need to tell something that his kids definitely wouldn't know. And while the 5 cage didn't bow before him like he said, they did leave everything to him. Simply defined, during the fight against Madara, he is the Elemental Nation Coalition Supreme Leader. When Naruto noticed that Ajuka's eyes widened along with the other 3, he softly grinned. However, Ajuka's eyes were the only ones where fire sparked, which is what caused the former blonde to smile. Turned his focus toward Suzek, Naruto think on how to explain this one, but in the end just shrugged his shoulders. Why should he? Naruto Uzumaki thinks. Aren't that's why you train right now? I maybe don't know the feeling of losing family, because I never had them in the first place. Suzek, who is currently looking down, sighed as the other 3. But if you think I don't know the feeling of lost, let me tell you I know that feeling pretty well. And you know what I do when I feeling that, I'm moping. Just like you, but it's mostly several days. After then I train and train, again and again until my bone break, my body bleeds and cannot move anymore. Do you know why? Clasped his hands on his red-headed learner, Naruto inquired gently, only getting a shaken head. Suzek's eyes shadowed by his hairs and he simply keeps staring down, frustrated since he kinda admired his teacher's swift recovery from the loss of someone dear. His teacher following words, nonetheless, caused his heart pounded hard, his eyes expand and body quivering in realizing manner. It's so I don't lose anyone ever again Ibeo. It's not just Suzek that shook from the former Jinchuriki anger-filled remarks. Moping around won't bring back the dead. So I trained hard, again and again, even if it breaks me. Simply so I can protect the remaining people that I cared about. Do you understand? Chilly head. Ajuka, Falbium, and even Seraphol started to tremble, their breath laboring as if the devils were under pressure from their teacher's intense passion. Even Naruto himself cannot help but having ragged breath after screamed all of that, and fortunately, his words getting through Suzek's head. As with misted eyes the redhead locked his eyes toward his sensei eyes, nothing but determination inside these powerful orbs, making Naruto inwardly smiled proudly. I understand sensei, thank you so much. Now has his heart steeled, Suzek cannot help but grinned, so big that his teeth sparkling from the light hitting it. He loses his uncle, the one that has been so loving toward him since he's nothing but a tiny kid. He loses several of his clansmen, but no more. He would train so intensely that when he completed, even 4 current Satan would quake from his aura alone. He would. No, he'll make his instructor proud. The newfound divinity trembled as images of green-wearing spandex man filled his mind, yelling about youth, and repeatedly sprinting through the Konoha village using just his hands. He hoped. That's not how Suzek will be, ever. Dismissed such a nightmare notion from his head, Naruto laughed as he shifted his attention toward Falbium that already shaken enough from his previous speech. He just needs a simple push more. Experience. Don't make me laugh badly. Who need experiences if you're strong enough to defeat everyone with pinkies alone? Matched grin can be visible on the black-haired male devil face, as without any guilt he chuckled. Yes, so true sensei. Ha 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 ha. Yup. Simple push, right. Taking a deep breath, Naruto gazed at his last student and the only one that's female. Feeling her teacher looking at her, Seraphol diverted her gaze for a time, but in the end gazed straight into his gentle eyes with normal blankness, ready to accept all of his next words into her heart. Knowing what's on her mind, Naruto just sat cross-legged, then signaled for his students to sit across from him, which they do without any pointless query. Honestly, if you four talking about young, this teacher of you is younger than all of you. Smiled ever softly, Naruto inwardly cackled at his student's jaw-dropping and obviously disbelieves expression. You four didn't need to trust me. But let me be simple, do you ever heard God called Naruto? The young, primordial deity subtly arched an eyebrow at his pupils, causing them to become silent because they were unable to refute his assertion. If you want to meet with old primordial, most of you should know Kaguya. She's a deity of the moon after all. Princess of the moon from Shinto mythology, but he didn't have to say anything because his pupils nodded slowly, already being aware of this common knowledge, even though their eyes were still slightly shocked that their teacher was younger than them. Given that their teacher initially described him as being significantly weaker than a human at this age, what kind of training did he undergo to acquire his current level? The four demons can't help but appreciate their teacher more deeply, putting him on par with their parents, even though they shudder at their own disparate fantasies. His age be damned, he is strong, and if a touch of envy is there, it squashed almost instantly as the four devils inwardly pledged to surpass their instructor. However, four pair of eyes shifted their attention back toward the white-haired primordial that gently smiled. In his palm is a cup of tea that they are sure is not there previously. That's not what not I want to said, only me want to come clean toward you four. Knowing what he means, the four demons bowed respectfully, their seating position moved into that of more comfortable as they're readying themselves for their teacher next words like a good pupils they are. Naruto scowled and gazed directly at his pupils while taking a gentle sip of his beverage. Age is only a number. Do not ever underestimate someone based from their age alone. 10 years old could be a young soldier, trained from 4 years old or even lower, and when they 12 years old, they're experienced enough to murder anyone that even for a second underestimated them. As Naruto closed his eyes to block out the torrent of unpleasant memories, an image of Gaara flashed through his head. A few seconds later, he opened them again and met his student's eyes once more. You devils have a 1,000-year lifespan. Even if someone is hundreds or thousands of years younger than you, do not make the foolish error of underestimating them. The devils nodded sincerely at that, making Naruto can't help but smiled at them. All right, now how about some stories? After that, for several hours Naruto and his students just kept conversing. Occasionally he told them his stories when he's a kid, while they laughed at amusing moment and sobbing at the sad moment. Kaguya continues to gaze at them, her Naru in particular, with a gentle smile. And he dared to label himself a terrible teacher. Break. Later that night, on the midnight, hours after his students back toward their home in the underworld, Naruto can be seen still standing on the outside, staring at the moon with unreadable eyes. Behind him is the form of the goddess of the moon herself, Kaguya. Naru, let's go to bed as it's already late. Kaguya words are soft, and because now there's just two of them here, Naruto took a glimpse at her. Or so Kaguya though, as her Naru in the end averted his sight again and disregarded her, an attractive blush on his cheeks. Kaguya's feminine eyebrow twitched quietly, and she genuinely resisted the impulse to punish her Naru now, knowing he could refuse to sleep with her if he's gotten too scared by her. Actually, both of them didn't need sleep that much, as they are, after all, a god. But there's just no way Kaguya would lose her snuggle time with her darling Naru. Sad for her, at this time a bright flash of light unexpectedly materialized, and emanating from it is a shape of familiar god, grabbing both primordial attention, with the child raised his eyebrow in an inquiring manner. Yahweh, do you have any business coming here? Naruto replies that by no means because he didn't like his friend arriving, but it was the first time the silver-haired god coming this late. And clearly, it may be because something horrible has happened. His only answer is simply for Yahweh scratched his cheek, all the time laughing uneasily. Well, I've a favor that I need to ask of you. Not one to beat about the bush, knowing his friend has a short temper occasionally, Yahweh once again letting out an embarrassed giggle. This time, Naruto's eyebrow flew till it was no longer visible, and he folded his arms across his chest, though not in a scornful way, since his subsequent words to Yahweh were really consoling. You don't need to be nervous, Yahweh. I try to help as long it is within my power to do so. The god of Bible takes a slight sigh of relief here, however his eyes still exhibited a small amount of concern. Well, you are aware of my two youngest seraph, correct? tilted his head in cute fashion. The youngster didn't understand it caused the goddess behind him licked her lips in a seductive manner. Yes, you call them Michael and Gabriel, so what about them? Hey. Here, Yahweh anxiousness grew much visible, causing Naruto slowly gain a sweat drop at the side of his head. Can you train them too? As the young primeval deity gazed at his pal with a deadpan face, the sweat drop grew much larger and followed my slight eyebrow twitch. You realize of 4 demon students, right? Another anxious chuckles as his only answer, making Naruto in the end smacked his own forehead in an exasperated manner. God of the Bible he is, he said. Honestly, Naruto never had such much peace from the fact he never prayed to gods as long as he lived as human. Well, except these pray before he eat, of course. However, to him whole, itadakimasu, is more like mannerism, combined with, thanks for the food, after finished eating. So yeah, he never prayed to any gods. Naruto glanced back to his companion and asked the silver-haired god a question. What you say to these two though? Did they want me to train them at all? Naruto knew Yahweh, and based on what he understood, Yahweh wouldn't even come here to ask for a favor unless the two seraph had already agreed to be educated by Primordial, which would have literally put an end to their conflict. At Naruto inquiries, Yahweh moved his face aside in an uncomfortable manner. Well, I told them that they will be schooled by my brother from tomorrow on for several months. Years after years experience viewing the unexpected as the only reason Naruto easily avoided the impulse to overtly drop his mouth like some ignorant person, but he did let out a little air intake to demonstrate his amazement. Kaguya appears more professional, as evidenced by the delicate raising of a little eyebrow that conveys her surprise. Seeing these reactions, so-called God of Bible sought to defend himself by flailing his arms childishly. But, Naruto, it's quite plausible to tell them you're my brother because we share the same domain, nearly same hair, and nearly identical clothing. Naruto smacked his own forehead once more, sensing that this would soon turn into a headache. The little primordial groaned and offered one final question. Why brother? 'Cause from what I know, your seraph will do anything you asked of them, what with the pathetic excuse Ibeo. Small patch of pink can be seen on Naruto cheeks as he understood his own catchphrase, and it got darker when he senses Kaguya already stepped behind him and for some reason began to trail her sleeves-covered palms on his back. What he cannot see though, Kaguya already has a full-blown flush and ragged breath as she keeps caressing her Naru body region. And not detected this, or just totally ignored it, Yahweh gave the young primeval his rationale. In my defense, Michael and Gabriel didn't like the idea being away from the heaven that much, but once I told them about their uncle, they agreed 100% immediately. Bit back another grumble, Naruto cannot reject that logical statement. Sure, but they're not a warmongers, right? I don't want them to start fighting with my pupils right away. Deadpan from Yahweh is his only answer, but Naruto cannot say anything to retort as he immediately trembling from Kaguya hand that for some reason already on his bare back. I knew that, of course. Who do you think I am? Yahweh tone filled with nothing but sarcasm, and when he heard this, Naruto bit back with his own deadpan tone, with blush still coating his cheeks from the goddess ministration toward his body. Just now, Naruto is convinced he felt Kaguya pinched his butt. Glad you know that then, Nisan. And with that, Yahweh flashed back to his heaven, leaving Naruto that stares at the location where the god of Bible stood just now with eyes as if betrayed. Oh Naru. Naruto shuddered at his friend's tone, but he was only able to whimper with a scarlet face because one of her hands was firmly around his waist. You've been a nasty guy today, disregarded me repeatedly. Naruto comprehended Kaguya's plan and began to moan more as her other palm caressed his butt cheek, causing his face to flush redder. So shifting his body until he faced Kaguya, Naruto's sleeve-wrapped palm playing with each other, him in question looking at the ground in an obviously cute shy manner. Thus, because he's looking at the ground, Naruto didn't realize that Kaguya's face gets much red and her breath more ragged. Her two hands that wrapped behind his back freely touching the boy's butt cheek, much to his humiliation. I am sorry Kaguya-chan. Please don't punish me. Grinning, Kaguya gave Naru a tight hug. Promise you won't ignore me again. At his best friend's remarks, Naruto's eyes widen slightly, but he quickly smiles and puts his two slender arms around Kaguya's neck. I promise. XXXXXX break XXXXXX. Tomorrow. Now stood in front of his 4 devil students, Naruto has an unreadable look on his cute face. Which makes the four devils in question raise their eyebrows after seeing this. How can he tell them? These four are devils, no matter that they have a wish for a peace. If two angels approach so unexpectedly they would tense and ready to attack. And the worst, they would attack immediately. For example, Naruto disliked lying, whether he was a former ninja or not. Perhaps this is because, for 12 years, he had no idea why he was hated, and every time he asked his Gigi, he would just respond with something that clearly did not address the subject. Maybe it was 16 years not knowing who's his own parents, and the one knew never even hinted that they knew his parents. And undoubtedly, if not because he meet his parents remained souls in his mindscape, till now he wouldn't even know who are they. And now, as a teacher, he cannot offer a terrible example for his students. Taking a deep breath, Naruto sat cross-legged suddenly, and hot-headed Sir'zek is the one asking first. Sensei, aren't we gonna sit? When his teacher interrupted him, the redhead pouted, but he soon obeyed, partly because he saw that his three buddies had already taken a seat because their teacher had instructed them to do so. Jerk. Saying that in a foolish manner, his word aimed at his three buddies for not tell that they already seated, leaving him argued with his teacher without anyone backing him up. Three snickers, and Sir'zek, huff, Edwile folded his arms on his chest, at the same time averted his face to another way in an obvious pouting style. Sound of a cleared throat makes four attentions turn into Naruto, with him peering at them with narrow eyes, but calm manner. To you four, there's something I forgot to say since you four become my students. Noticed their sensei as being serious at the moment, four devils stopped playing and offered their teacher all of their attention. Cue for Naruto to continue, and his following comments, pretty much shaken his students. God of the Bible is my friend. The four devils were clearly terrified, as evidenced by their pupils' sudden dilatation and shaking, but it only took a minute for them to calm down and focus entirely on their teacher. He gave them power, knowledge, and new dreams to pursue, so there's no way he could harm them simply because he is friends with the God of the Bible. Naruto's face softly smiled at this. Which of my two pieces of news, good or bada, would you four want to hear first? The four gazed at each other, then the other three glanced at Ajuka and nods at him, which he responded. Ajuka is the one made the decision as he shifted his focus to his teacher. We would like to hear the good news first, sensei. Naruto nodded in understanding, as he then gives another smile toward his four students. The good news is, God is sick of war and wants this carnage to end. His four students' eyes soon filled with joy. After all, why shouldn't they? Their dream is for their sibling to be born safely outside of this battle, and now that one of the three commanders has returned, there are just two left to take care of. And the bad news, when their teacher reminded the four devils that he had more bad news, they recoiled. God asked me favor yesterday, which is to train his two youngest seraph along with you four. Sir'zek and his three companions certainly face faulted here, their face basically screams, what's horrible about that? Naruto let out another sigh and pouted as he flicked each student's forehead, causing them to grasp painfully. You four, think clearly. Naruto gets up and strikes a chiding attitude toward his four students, which makes them laugh to themselves. It may not be terrible news by itself, but what if even one hint of you four training along with Angel was smelled Ibeo? The same may be happening with Michael and Gabriel too. But these four got the backing of their greatest leader. But these four devils, since Primordial stopped the conflict, there is no way that these four could be battling angels or fallen angels, and even the slightest quantity of light energy may make all the devils in the underworld suspicious of them. Additionally, despite the fact that light-based attacks would be beneficial for resistance training, Naruto never employed them on his pupils. And in the end, Sir'zek and Co realized this too, as their expressions grew grim, even Seraphals. Then, Sensei, what should we do? Falbium queried harshly, making Naruto titled his head for a bit and scratched his cheek, but smiling reassuringly at the four in the end. None of you need to do anything. It's my obligation as a teacher to safeguard you all after all Ibeo. The four demons were reassured by their teacher's grin, but he never allowed them to question. Instead, their teacher moved to the closest clearing and stood there humming softly while holding his hands behind his back. Come here you four, it's time to greet your new friends. Glanced at each other for a second, the four in the end scrambled and one by one standing behind their teacher. Eyes narrow, and body tight, as if ready to attack with even slight indication of malice. Not even half a minute later, a dazzling light covered the clearing in front of Naruto, blinding his students for a time and making them more tense. Uncle. As the light died down, two figures can be seen. They each have 6 pairs of wings made of golden feathers on their backs. However, before anyone could say hello for Naruto or notice these two seraph for the devils, one of them leapt toward Naruto like a bolt of lightning, moving so quickly that Naruto's students were unable to keep up with her as she glomped their teacher's head toward her chest. And Naruto, although god he is, he quickly became blue from the lack of oxygen and started to struggle by jokingly swinging his limbs. Gabriel, release, uncle, now. Kind, but stern voice of man can be heard from the other figure, making the female one, called Gabriel weeping, but not releasing her hold on Naruto yet, while the primordial in question nearly lost his consciousness from the softest twin pillow that crashed into his face. Gabriel, okay Oni-sama. With another threat, Gabriel in the end freed her, uncle, who immediately panting for oxygen. Seraphol is on his side, massaging his back while glaring at Gabriel, who is merely grinning naively. Now that the two angels have already stopped making a ruckus, the devils and Naruto can examine them closely. Michael, if Naruto could say as kind-looking male, with green eyes full with compassion and kindness, however at the same time held sharpness which suggests he can harm someone if he's being offended or his family is harmed. He has blonde hair. Well, not as blonde as he is when he's a human, more like pale blonde, just not so pale like Ino's. And on top of these hairs is a halo formed of light. His outfit is simple and plain if Naruto may say, which is white robe with blue marking on the side. Simply mentioned, Michael is someone that Naruto didn't mind to train. Right now, Gabriel however, sweat drop gently trailed to the side of Naruto's head as he could see Gabriel currently looking at him with a star-filled eyes full of amazement. And just with that, Naruto realizes this one is an airhead. However, she has a stunning appearance. With long and wavy golden curls flowing across her back, seem like a lovely cloud that any lady would find themselves jealous. Her eyes are green, exactly like her older brother, but unlike him, hers filled with so much goodness and compassion, without any form of hatred or negativity, just like a naive child. As for outfit, she used identical attire like her older brother, but once again, unlike him, she opened the front side, displaying that inside the robe, Gabriel used a gorgeous garment of silk with veil draped around her neck till waist. Simply mentioned, Naruto's newest students are both handsome and beautiful. Finished his observation, Naruto shook his head and took a short glimpse at his devil students. They appear normal, except Seraphol that for some reason looks hatefully at Gabriel. Well, she must merely be feeling jealous and competitive with Gabriel because there isn't any actual intent to kill. Rivalry is excellent, Naruto thought as he internally nodded sagely. Anyway, Naruto smiled at the two angels that would be his disciples, which they responded with their own. I hope my brother did not make you too upset for this sudden arrangement, because I wouldn't force you two to train if you don't want to. Naruto said gently, yet with a trace of cynicism when he uttered, brother. Gabriel and Michael smile merely expand at Naruto's words, apparently glad that the deity in front of them is actually the brother of their Lord Father. It's all right Lord Uncle, it is our biggest pleasure to be trained by blood sibling of Lord Father. 4 devils behind Naruto furrowed their eyebrows as they realized that the two seraphim behave as if their teacher is the sister of their Lord Father. And devils there, they noticed when their teacher uttered, brother, with apparent sarcasm, unlike the two angels. One thing they agreed at the time. This is amusing. Good if none if you having a problem then, Gabby and Mickey. The cleared silence for a moment, but then it broke when Serzek snickered, followed by his 3 pals. As for Michael, hearing such a term from his apparently uncle, he soon finds himself develop a twitching eyebrow from displeasure. Gabriel however, Oni-sama, did you hear that? Uncle giving us a beautiful nickname. Once again, the clearing filled with quiet as everyone staring at Gabriel as if she's having a second head. And yes, even Naruto, but soon he smiled gleefully. I'm glad you like it Ibeo. You're such a good niece. Hya, thank you so much uncle. And the two rapidly embraced each other after that, cheek-stroking each other at the same time. What about the others? Well, they're peering at the spectacle with owlish blink. All, except Seraphol that once again, glaring at Gabriel, and if look can kill, the female seraph would already die thousands time by now. It takes the two of them another minute to break their embrace, and then Naruto smiles mischievously. Anyway, Gabby and Mickey. With all attention on him, Naruto pointed his finger at Ajuka. This one is Ajuka, or just call him Kelp Head. Ajuka definitely has annoyed twitching eyebrow after such sentence, but can't do nothing as his teacher pointed at Srzek. But before that, Gabriel chirped something that would make Ajuka seem as pale as if 10 Hydra were pursuing him. Nice to meet you, Kelpie-san. Gabriel face filled with nothing but innocence, and Ajuka realized himself couldn't blame this Gabriel. But taking a peek at his sensei, Ajuka face turned more pale than previously, as if the god of the Bible was hunting him. Don't you dare sensei. Cat-eating canary grin is the only response Ajuka get from his teacher. Now, what did you mean by that Kelpie-kun? Naruto twitched his finger in a playful manner, aggravating Ajuka even more, and this is the split point for the heir of Astaroth clan. Sensei. Ajuka's hair rose up like a furious lion as the green equation exploded from him. Ahahaha, catch me if you can Kelpie. Not influenced at all by Ajuka aura, Naruto blurred and appeared on top of a tree, all the while giving his green-haired student a thumb down. Angry he is. Ajuka eyes convert into humorous green flame as he began to charge toward his sensei, at the same time blasting many green compressed equations at the small primordial, which he dodged very easily. I see. The angels and devils behind watching at the show with sweatdrop, especially Gabriel that squealed at seeing her uncle outstanding speed. Gabriel is the largest of them, but soon they are grinning disarmingly at one another. Is that always happening? Michael asked anxiously, getting 3 devils shrugged their shoulders. 'Cause honestly, they didn't know. It's kinda random. Anyway, my name is Srzek Rimori. Srzek said with a respectful bow, making Michael and Gabriel smile at how this Srzek accepted them. Falbium Glacia Labelas, nice to meet you too. Serafal Citri, and the one running is Ajuka from Astaroth clan. One by one the devils introduced themselves with a polite bow, albeit, as for Serafal, she concluded it with the stink eye at Gabriel. Srzek and Falbium were the only ones who saw this, and they laughed and rolled their eyes. My name is Gabriel, it is my pleasure to meet all of you. My name is Michael, nice to meet you, Rimori-san, Falbium-san, Citri-san and Astaroth-san if he's here. Gabriel and Michael introduced, followed with a modest bow. And after that, they trained until the dawn. XXXXXX break XXXXXX. That night in Underworld. 2 more bowl please. Sorry kid, the one you just eat is the last bowl. With a pout, a surprise form of Naruto can be seen sitting in the chair on a ramen stand, on his back as small bat wings, twitching and flapping each 5 seconds. And here I can eat 12 more bowl. Muttered thus in forlorn manner, Naruto drew out his Gama-chan and picked 20 yen for ramen that he had eaten. Ahahaha, come again tomorrow kid, I give you a discount. While chuckling boastfully, the proprietor of the stand took this weird kid money, then take the 5 empty bowls and place it in its position after wash it clean. Okay, hearing a discount term, Naruto chirped enthusiastically and hopped in his chair, eyes look extremely happy, causing the stand owner that observing this shaking his head. This kid's sin must be gluttony. As for Naruto himself, saw the owner is packing to go home, he jumped out from his chair and waved at the ramen stand owner. I'm off then. Thanks for the food OG-san. Yeah, thanks for the business kid. After then Naruto began to walk away, eyes darting about the underworld to memorize every aspect he can see. Honestly, coming into underworld has been so easy when he learns the way of magic, and once he learned the equation needed to teleport to underworld from Ajuka, he can pop out and into here every time he wished. However, his issue a few weeks earlier was how to enter without waking up all the devils. And yet again, it was so easy. Let just told his yin and yang chakra as 2 sides of the same coin, which is light and darkness. These 2 are among the 16 different types of energy that make up his body. What he needs to do is just compressing the other 15, then use yin chakra within him to build a shell around these 15. Thus, if anyone ever uses Sensor's ability on him, they would only feel the yin energy, which is same to devil energy, but more intense. What about the wings? Well, Kaguya had trained him to regulate his chakra better. Additionally, Naruto is confident that Kurama will outperform his partner if he can create his entire body out of chakra, proving that making wings is not that difficult. Too much deep in thinking, Naruto did not realize he walked into the arrogant-looking devil until they both crashed into each other. Oof, muttered that, Naruto shook his head after staggered backward a while, then staring forward. Well up to the demon that's staring down at him with a snarl. Oi Chibi, do have eyes or not? At the brazen way this demon taunts his height, Naruto glares at him directly without any fear. Devils around them began to back away seeing this scene. I should be the one saying that, ape, or are you so stupid that you cannot use your eyes? Devils around them began to gasp at Naruto coming back, evidently startled at the little devil daring comments. Well, Naruto is Naruto, his genuine attitude may be shy and polite, but he is still Naruto, that love prank and never bothered about such thing as ranks, the one who can get people upset with a few insults, and the one that would insult back if he's being insulted. He simply couldn't display this attitude a month ago since he was still uncomfortable with his real figure. You little fuck, stop right there. Just before the enormous devil wanted to punch calm-looking Naruto, a soft, feminine voice can be heard. And this voice, make all the devils there freeze and widen their eyes. Naruto turned his face to the left, clearly wondering why this was happening, and saw a stunning woman with silver hair and mismatched eyes, green on the right and blue on the left. Her hair's as long, approaching the ground she stepped, though miraculously it hovering just above it, as if unwilling to touch the filth in the ground. And this woman, currently smiling pleasantly at Naruto that folded his arms on his chest and tilted his head cutely. Who are you? Oh my, so adorable. Once again, the devils around began to gasp in surprise fashion, first because this white-haired lad didn't know who he confronted at the moment, and second because the woman didn't murder the youngster for not bowing before her. Now that they understood that, all the devils began to kneel at this woman, each having face full with fear. Naruto, though, get a twitching eyebrow as to him, he is being neglected by everyone at the moment. So with lovely moment, Naruto aimed his finger at the woman that just now stopped him from thrashing the thuggish monster. I said it once again, who are you? You fufu. My name is Leviathan, you can just call me Levia-chan cutie. Naruto tilted his head for a while, recognizing that name. However, after a few moments of not being able to identify this woman, Naruto simply shrugged his shoulders and grinned at her. Okay, Levia-chan. Looking around, Naruto realizes that all devils that just now kneeling already gone, leaving just a dust behind. Naruto shifted his focus back to Levia-chan as his demon wings briefly flapped adorably. The woman in question simply grinned amusingly. Anyway, Levia-chan, you know where I can meet someone called Lucifer, yeah, that, you know where I can see him. If it can, Naruto's remarks caused Leviathan to hide her lips and laugh even harder. Even her other hand was clearly hurting as it held her stomach. Naruto lifted his eyebrow for a bit. However, he chose to simply wait until this kind devil had finished laughing, for which he had no idea why. You fufu. So adorable, so you want to meet with Lucifer then? Leviathan asked Naruto, wiping the tear from her left eye, and he nodded with a gentle, Leviathan laughed again and gestured for Naruto to take her palm. Naruto did so, and the two started to move in the direction of the large structure in the center of the city. XXXXXX, break XXXXXX. Time skip, 4 Great Satan office. Crash, Lucy, look who's I bring along. With a forceful kick, Leviathan made the door flying into the head of the handsome-looking male with silver hairs. And because this male just now is reading some papers, albeit he heard the sound of his sister arriving, he did not have enough time to dodge the incoming flying door. Thus the huge door collapsed onto his vulnerable skull. Gah, stop kicking door, woman, don't you know how much that cost? With a lump on his skull and amusing fangs, the man barked. Though when he see who's Leviathan brought along, he calmed himself and leaned his back toward his chair. Another man, this time with green hairs, noticed the peculiar silence, as he then peered at Lucifer, then looking at where his eyes went to. And when the man saw the same thing as Lucifer, a battle-lust-filled grin quickly appeared on his face. Another man, this time with black hairs and one horn pointed upward from his forehead, perceiving the tension in the room, found himself awake, exposing his all-black eyes, which soon caught a glimpse of his leader's eyes. His expression unchanged. So, at last you have old man. Lucifer linked his fingers in front of his face and narrowed his gaze. And as he started the monologue he had prepared for this precise occasion, Naruto gestured to his hair and spoke an unexpected word. Green-haired man quickly snickered and smashing his palm again and again upon the table. The black-haired and horned man was first silent, but soon he averted his gaze and silently snickered too. You fufu. He called you old man Lucy, it reminded me of something. Leviathan, though, didn't seem to resist anything as she merely grinned at her older brother's slack-jawed appearance. What? Do you even know who are you calling old man oi chibi? And how could you cut me off? Don't you know how much day I need to make that monologue? And it's all prepared when I meet you too. How heartless can you be, huh? Lucifer leapt out of his chair, appearing prepared to assault the chibi in front of him. Unfortunately, the green-haired and black-haired man stood up and restraining him rapidly. Unhand me this instant, Beelzebub, Asmodeus, let me beat this heartless chibi. With funny flapping limbs, Lucifer is trying hard to escape away from his brother's constraint, even blowing out a fire that didn't even burn anything for some reason. You're a funny old man, eh. Not really terrified, even amused. Naruto soon found himself chuckling along with Leviathan, causing Lucifer in the end weeping his eyes out and back to his chair in sullen fashion. Come here cutie, you wanted to talk right. Taking Naruto's hand again, Leviathan guides him to her chair, as she then sits down and places the youngster on her lap. With the exception of Leviathan, who started humming while fiddling with Naruto's silky hair, everyone in the room became serious and the tension miraculously returned after everyone had returned to their seats. I see. So, you want to do your monologue now, Supreme Leader of Devil? As he spoke, Naruto narrowed his eyes at Lucifer, who responded with his own. Of course, and thanks for the reminder. Lucifer nodded appreciatively to Naruto before taking a long breath and narrowing his gaze once more. So, at last you have come to the underworld, Primordial. After Lucifer said that, killing intent filled the room as 3 of the 4 Satans attempting to push their will on Naruto, which he repelled effortlessly with a wave of hand, making Lucifer's and Beelzebub's sneer expand. Honestly, I wasn't expecting you to move this fast, Primordial, as my speculation you would come to me next month, but I guess the 2 addition students of yours make you move faster. Here, Naruto narrowed his brows, but he stopped as he felt Leviathan's reassuring palm start to caress his head. Now he's not foolish, he may be a straightforward person, but he won't go into the opposing leader's base without justification. His initial aim was only to test the water, if you will, but Naruto became intrigued when he sensed that Leviathana, whom he didn't know to be a leader based on her name but her power, had no negative feelings against him. He wanted to meet with the other leaders as a result. So how shocked he is, when none of them harbored any unfavorable sentiment against him. With the exception of Beelzebub, it is more of an intention to fight him. Battle maniac, he said. You must be asking, how did this badass handsome, powerful and invisible devil know about that? In frantic manner, right? Nonsense. Standing up quickly, Lucifer stretched his arms in a disdainful fashion, complete with a smug sneer on his face, on the way cutting Naruto words. Obviously, the young Primordial gained a twitching eyebrow and ready to jump at this stupid-looking devil. Though unfortunately, or fortunately, Leviathan uses one arm to pull him closer to her chest, all the while she kisses his ear to calming him down. And this is a success as Naruto began to calm down, though followed by a small patch of pink on each cheek. When Lucifer saw this, he looked from Asmodeus to Beelzebub, then back to the Primordial, and finally back to Asmodeus and Beelzebub. Why I'm restrained by ugly man like you two while him. Q for Lucifer pointed his finger at Primordial. Got restrained by the most beautiful girl in the underworld? Leviathan gave a straightforward response just as Beelzebub was about to bite him back. He is cute, you on the other hand. Just you. And with that, Leviathan back at kissing the Primordial on her lap, at the same time caressing his cheek softly. With a growl, Lucifer takes a note to gather all beautiful devils to restrain him next time he wants to beat down someone. Anyway, like I said previously, you must be asking, how did this badass handsome, powerful and invisible devil know about that? So let me answer it for you. Primordial. With one hand in the air, and other hand flapped his bangs, sparkle magically appears around Lucifer, which he is sure will make him more cooler in the eyes of Primordial. Sad for him, the Primordial in question just closed his eyes from the pleasant feeling each time Leviathan kissed him and caressed his cheek. And not noticing this, Lucifer just continues his monologue. I, Lucifer, the king of the devils, has since long ago following your movement, of course with the help of disgusting bug from Beelzebub. At this, Naruto gives Lucifer his attention, his cheek, however, unconsciously leaned toward Leviathan palm, much to her delight. But Beelzebub growled because his fly was assisting them in tracking the Primordial movement without the Primordial realizing that Lucifer had insulted him. Oi! Instead insulting my fly, just how long this monologue of yours? Geez, be patient Beel, let me see for a bit. Stuffing his hand toward his pocket, Lucifer then let out a sigh. Very long sheet of paper that he began to read swiftly from the top. Soitus with an knowledge that you, primordial didn't like any conflict and want to ouch ouch, who shoot that flame fucker. Asmodeus' surprise, is the one raising his hand, and his following words pierce like an imaginary arrow into Lucifer's heart. It's boring, let me go home. Beelzebub grinned broadly as he continued, saying something that caused Lucifer to stagger back as if he had been struck in the stomach. Me too, your monologue is trash anyway. Like a robot, Lucifer shifted his attention toward his last hope, which is the primeval. He was devastated to see that the primordial in question had already placed his face on the Leviathan's chest and closed his eyes, clearly enjoying the most exquisite devil kisses and caresses. Why you all are evil. Wah, crash. With that, Lucifer went right at the wall and passed through it easily while crying as he walks directly into his house. Several minutes passed, Naruto turned serious again and gazed at Beelzebub with a sharp look. Here, the Lord of the Flies grinned. Simply said, we, the four Satan did not have any intent to continue this war in decreasing our number anymore. Here, Naruto widens his eyes, yet before he could say more, Asmodeus cut him off. Do not misunderstand Primordial. Softly stating this, Asmodeus cocks his head and into Naruto's own eyes. Quote, we, the four Satan hates our father, and would do almost anything to kill him. The only reason we did not want to continue this war is simply because Lucifer find himself attached to his civilians and feeling bad for forcing them on his way to revenge. On another side, we are not ruling devils with an iron fist, so while we did not want to continue this war, we cannot force our civilians to not hate the two sides. With that, I hope you understand. After Asmodeus' monologue, which obviously more good compared to Lucifer's, Naruto found himself didn't know what to think. On one hand, he's glad that with this, two leaders had lowered their postures. On the other side, though, he discovered, once again, cycle of hatred follows him. How can the broken hearts of those who have lost their families be healed? How can they stop crying when they lose their lovers? How to makes peace possible? With heavy heart, Naruto jumped down from Leviathan lap, much to her chagrin. And while facing the three Satans, Naruto gave a low thankful bow to them. I thank you. You four are very kind individual in my eyes. I won't dig on the reason why you hate your own creator, but I know you have your own reason that I cannot change no matter what, and also please contact me if any of you in need of something. What I wanted in return is simply your friendship. Sensing the honesty inside the primeval words, the three Satan offered him a smile, except Beelzebub that only mumbled something about battles and jerk. And with that, I need to go home now. Sorry for the intrusion, by Levia-chan. Naruto waved joyfully in the direction of the person he felt most at ease with before activating a magical circle on his feet. A white fox with 10 tails emerged beneath him, and a few seconds later, he vanished. Leviathan waved back and sighed dreamily, putting his palm to his cheek. Bye Na-kun, he is so cute. Asmodeus, just like the primordial, gone immediately back into his profound slumber, not caring about anything much. Opposite compared with Beelzebub that sulking because he did not obtain the combat he sought from the primal. Oh well, he could just locate Lucifer to beat up. He after all dared to disrespect his flies, when it was evident without his flies, none of them would trust the primordial easy. He is peculiar, but compassionate and straightforward. He trained not one, but 4 clan heir of demon pillars, along with their 2 youngest sibling. Beelzebub laughed at the final one. He and the other may despise their father, but the seraph, to them, they are still their tiny brothers and sisters. Simply told, Primordial is a friend to them, long before he realizes it. XXXXXX break XXXXXX. Still within the underworld, Naruto pops his head out cutely and looks at one of his student house. Honestly, he did want to go home just now, but remembered that he had students within the underworld. Naruto can't help it, but wanted to visit at least one of them. It's of course not because he terrified Kaguya spank once she finds he has come home late, not at all. Anyway, right now Naruto is contemplating whether he should come or not. Because why shouldn't he? What's in front of him is not a regular high-class house that he has seen in the past. He can't even call it house anymore. It is a palace. Damn fucking big palace. Groaning lightly, Naruto also can see there's many guards defending the Grimoire Palace. That only makes everything more complicated. It's not like he can just walk there and said, "My name is Naruto and I am the teacher of Sir Grimoire, come here to meet him in person," now could he? A light bulb popped above his head seconds later. Naruto stopped in front of two guards with a magic circle in front of his mouth as he approached the Grimoire Palace. Two unidentified guards evidently did not take this as lightly as they pointed their weapon at the unusual child. However, before anyone can speak or do anything, Naruto had taken a massive chunk of air and suddenly he yells, "Chilly head Grimoire, I've come to visit you. XXXXXX, break XXXXXX. Just now with Sir with a small chuck of beef in his lips, Sir smiled at his parents, who laughed a little. He had finished delivering them knowledge on what he had done today with his three other pals. Just an hour ago as he had come home, he could tell some light from Michael and Gabriel attack has scrapped him, and while it's not that hurt, he could still feel the light in question traveling through his wound. And because light is pretty much devil weakness and their primary adversaries is the only one could use it, thus make devils sensitive to even the smallest light, his parents had ordered him to explain them what he had done today. He informed them he trained with his sensei later, and because every day he had told his parents since month ago he had trained with his sensei and three friends from other clans, they believed him quickly. It's not harmed that the three in issue had been questioned by their parents too and said the same thing. However, he never told his parents who was their sensei, not even an alias. And from what Sir knew, Serafal, Ajuka and Falbium had done the same thing. Anyway, like usual, while eating dinner, Sir presented his parents the report on what he has done today, including all the comedy, but omit the fact he has two angels training with them. And much to his joy, his parents seemed so amused with the narrative that they entirely forgot their first question. Just as was dancing inside from successful dodge, Sir then heard the sound that he didn't want to hear. Again. The sound of his childish sensei. "Chilly head Grimoire, I've come to visit you." With a groan, Sir got up and moved in the direction of the gate, understanding his sensei's motivation. Behind him, his father chuckled boastfully and his mother giggled more louder. His parents are amused when they hear the scream because, of course, he had told them about his moniker from his sensei. Amused or not, they wanted to meet with his sensei, they had informed him so multiple times in the previous week after all. And as good youngster he is, why should Sir deny such a wish, more so with his sensei in question now stood in front of their house entrance. XXXXXX, break XXXXXX. It's nice to meet you too, Zeoticus Asen, Venilana Obasan, my name is Naruto. Naruto casually greets the two formidable devils with an ever-bright smile. His smile is as innocent as if he hadn't used the terms, uncle, and auntie, to address the two devils in question. Some maids and butlers that heard this nevertheless, found themselves coughing lightly, wishing to do nothing save to advise this youthful-appearing white-haired devil not to be impolite to the Lord and Lady Grimoire. Though after they understood this young-looking devil in question is actually their young master teacher, they can only gulp their silent comments. "Oh my, such a cute and handsome teacher you have, Sir And he called me uncle too, ha 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 ha, I like him." Naruto only tilts his head from astonishment at the two devils react, did he do wrong? Seeing his look, Zeoticus put a hand on the shorter demon, with a large grin on face. "Don't mind myself and my wife Naruto boy, why don't we go to the dining room where you can tell me and my wife about how well our son is compared with his peers, it would be rude of us, Grimoire left you standing here after all." Zeoticus is staring at Naruto, and the red-haired guy can't help but wonder what made Sir believe his teacher was a lady when he first met him. Oh sure the boy is really beautiful and everything, but he has his own manly air, and that face is more like wicked cute instead of pretty. "Oh, that's a good idea Asen, there's so much we could talk about." After ending it in a playful tone, Naruto briefly looked at Sir causing Zeoticus's smile to widen if it could, and his wife to giggle a little next to him. Sir simply nodded and grinned at his tutor in a rare display of denseness. "Then let me lead the way sensei." Several minutes later, Sir regret that remarks of his. "I see. Gahahaha, that was hilarious Naruto. Then what happened next?" Then Sir said like this, "It may take me 1,000 years to overcome you sensei, but I am not going to give up." With such confidence, and it would become very cool indeed. If not because he at that time sticking his butt in the air and face planted to ground. Gahahaha. Ha ha. Ha ha. Zeodicus is wheezing and crying uncontrollably as he laughs so hard that his stomach hurts and the table is wrecked because he repeatedly slams his palms in response to his son's amusing behavior. Venelana laughed behind her palm with amused eyes, and she didn't appear to be any different from her husband. As the memories he shared with the two devils flashed through his memory, Naruto simply laughed a little. But by this point, Sir had almost buried his face in his palms, embarrassed by his former self, so this joyful moment did not coincide with the one in the story itself. Additionally, he felt a little irritated with his teacher for telling his parents about the incident. You three are evil. Letting out another giggle, Naruto took a glimpse at his red-headed learner. While the two parents ignored their son weep and continuing giggling. Then you mind calling Seraphol, Ajuka and Falbium chilly head. I have other news for you for this night. That's one of reason for his visit after all, excluding the obvious of him terrified to go back home since he doesn't want to feel Kaguya spanked tonight. Sir nodded gravely after realizing that his teacher's remarks sounded sincere. Yes, give me 2 to 3 minutes. The Lord and Lady Grimori grinned as they imagined what their son's instructor had told them, and the room fell into a cozy stillness after Sir had left. Knowing that their son enjoyed himself with his gang and enigmatic teacher while he was exercising his bones to the ground made them delighted. But one thing raises suspicions. Who exactly is this Naruto? He appears pleasant enough, and that make them happy to put their boy in his more than capable hand if what he told them is true. But the questions still remain within their head. Who is he? He never disclosed to them the clan from which he hails, and they were unaware of the formidable demon known as Naruto. Oh, who is he wanting to joke to? Their son is a high-class devil with the power of destruction in his grasp, and the 3 heirs is not pushover to from what they heard. Heir, after all, not only a title from blood, for when the heir reach age of 19, other devils from the same clan might challenge the present heir for the title in question. Of course, most of these devils is below 100 years old age, since the one above 100 did not wish to perform such underhanded approach to get title. Well, underhanded tactics in and of themselves didn't bother them. It's more like they understood the con is more prominent if they're pressuring the youngster for a basic thing like a title. Where can they put their face if they've done such a thing? So it simply stunned both Lord and Lady Grimori once they realized this Naruto pretty much defeated 4 demonic heirs. As for Naruto himself, without understanding what's on the mind of 2 rulers, he just keeps slurping the ramen in front of him loudly, disregarding some of the laughter that come from numerous maids, finding his activity extremely cute and adorable. Oh hey nah, Zeodicus can't contain his curiosity and decides to ask when he hears 4 pairs of footsteps. A few seconds later, Seraphol, Ajuka, and Falbium follow Sir inside and bow to the lords and ladies of Grimori right away. Lord Zeodicus, Lady Venelana, I hope you two had a pleasant day. Oh Ajuka, no need to be so formal. You are Sir best friend after all, you two Seraphol and Falbium. After getting reprimanded by Lady Grimori, the 4 youngsters divert their focus to their teacher. Slurping his 15 bowl of ramen at the time. The 4 gave this a deadpan response. Sensei, we're here. Glanced up from his ramen bowl, Naruto takes a notice of his 4 gorgeous classmates waiting for him. And understanding they had a tough day, Naruto slurped whole bowl in one gulp and placed the empty bowl on top of another used bowl, finished. Sweat drop occurs on the side of 4 heirs of wicked clans. They looked at the 15 empty bowls, then at their teacher's tummy, which showed no signs of bulging. Just where did he place all of that? They thought at the same time, not knowing that both Lord and Lady Grimori is thinking the same thing. Naruto cleared his throat, drawing attention back to himself. Okay. Can we excuse ourself Asen? It's kinda sensitive information. Naruto looked at Lord Grimori and nervously scratched his cheek, hoping he didn't anger the red-haired fiend by sounding so impolite. Fortunately, Zeodicus didn't appear mind as he only smiled. It's all right, albeit I curious about what did you want to say to these 4, I respect your privacy. Sir escort your teacher and friends to guest room. Sir smiled and offered a nod, then strolled along the corridor, followed by his companions and teacher. I see, Zeodicus dear, this Naruto is kinda strange don't you think? Venelana abruptly exclaimed, drawing her husband's attention, once the 5 were no longer visible and their footsteps could no longer be heard. Oh, why do you think so? Zeodicus realized what is weird with his son's teacher. His question is more like to know whether his wife had felt the same way like he does. Venelana only grinned amusedly, knowing her husband's for 100 years. He don't have any ounces of sin within his heart. XXXXXX break XXXXXX. With the 5. So sensei, what did you want to tell us? Ajuka said with respect, dismissing the obvious issue of why he is in the underground and how come he can create that batwing behind him. Because knowing his teacher, he knew the answer was like, I'm God, as if it explained everything. Firstly, Naruto said, attracting all attention, I just met Lucifer and other 3 Satan few minutes ago. His 4 classmates turned stiff at that one tiny statement. Though Falbium has his lips pushed forward slightly at how his teacher misspelled the name of Devil Leader. Oh, calm down. Naruto waved his hand casually once spotted his students' reaction, and here he hoped that they laugh instead turn rigid. Well, like I said before, I meet with the 4 Satan, and with joy I told you 4, the devil has lowered their stance for war. Really? As soon as Naruto finished speaking, his classmates scrambled to their feet and bent their faces toward him with hopeful eyes. Go away, go away, go away, and go away. Naturally, not one who enjoys being so close, Naruto's palm, which was wrapped in sleeves, pushed everyone's face. With the exception of Seraphol, who chose to back out and just tilted her face against her teacher's kind touch, her cheeks flushed as soon as she smelled his grape-scented palm. Naruto blinked multiple times watching this, not knowing what happened. Ultimately, though, he shrugged his shoulders and patted the girl's cheek, causing her flush to intensify. Anyway, yes, 4 Satan has lowered their guard. The reason, because Lucifer find himself attached to his peoples and he don't want to sacrifice anyone again. When the 4 heirs heard that, their eyes lit up with joy. They understood that their teacher can determine whether one lying or not, so if he told them this, it's mean he trusts the 4 Satan's words. However, here Naruto gained a pained look on his face, making his students worried, though he didn't give them any time as he immediately continued. Like what Asmodeus said, we are not ruling devils with iron fist, so while we did not want to continue this war, we cannot forcing our civilians to, not, hate the 2 sides. With that, I hope you understand, so it has come to the people now, same like the angels. After that, everyone in the room fell silent, lost in their own thoughts. Then, Serzek broke the stillness. We will make the devils understand that peace won't happen until someone forgive, just like you said, Sensei. We 4 will break this cycle of hatred that you hate so much, Sensei. Right, guys? Of course, it is our duty as students, Ajuka stated with a little sneer on his face. Falbium shrugged and muttered, kinda boring, but for Sensei, okay I guess. Yes, for Sensei, Seraphol said, nodding before turning to face her teacher as her flush intensified. You 4. Naruto is in complete shock, but it only lasts for a few seconds before he beams broadly. Happiness and pride filled his chest. You don't know how much I'm proud of you guys right now. After that, his students smile broadly, and Naruto's smile transforms into a menacing grin that threatens to hurt. Because you 4 seem so excited, I will give you all specialization training tomorrow. Call it my own legacy for each of you if you want. Despite shuddering at their teacher's smirk, the 4 devils can't help but grin more from happiness, since while their teacher teach them many things from how to fight and how to control their power better, never he taught them his own fighting technique. And today, knowing they will learn them, nothing can repress the happiness that spilled out from their person. Yes, Sensei. Ha, so excited. I wait for you 4 in my house tomorrow then. Bye bye Ibeo. With magical circle, Naruto teleport into his house, all the while waving his hand to his classmates. Right now, he is curious about what will happen tomorrow. Naruto noticed Kaguya sitting on the side of the bed and gazing into the window with a dejected expression as he peered through his bedroom. Worry flooded the little god heart as he then entered the room, his mini devil wings no longer there, and at the same moment his first step can be heard, Kaguya's head snap at him. Naru. Suddenly Kaguya up, then walked toward her cute Naru that's staring at her with her cute anxiety-filled eyes. Once she's in front of him, she kneeled down and hugged his lithe frame. Where had you been, Naru? With her head laying on top of his, her arms completely locked his mobility as they looped around his waist and under his armpit. Naruto didn't try to get away because he was blushing from being so near, but he was also able to feel the goddess' warmth. I just back from Underworld, talking with the 4 Satans. Kaguya clenched her hugs when he told her that, her breath hitched. He is God, strong enough to defeat these 4 Satan at the same time without any trouble. However, Kaguya was aware that Naru dislikes charging into enemy bases without a valid reason. She waited, knowing that Naru would soon give her his explanation. As she had predicted, the lad realized that his best buddy wanted his explanation when he saw her tense but did nothing. I didn't actually want to meet them, but when I see Livia-chan didn't held any malice for me. I just kinda want to meet with the 3 others, sorry for making you worried, Kaguya. The goddess did nothing to demonstrate she's angry with her love, but she did tense once again when her Naru phoned one of the leader of Satan with such a close affectionate call. Livia-chan. Kaguya teeth gritted in obvious upset manner, but she understands furious at her Naru for making a friend is a big no for her. So, she merely took a long breath, then carried her darling and placed him gently on the bed, making him stare at her with a large, cute inquisitive eyes. Cannot keep herself back, more so since Naru just seduced her with that gorgeous gaze of his. Kaguya claimed his lips with hunger, her enormous sleeve-covered fingers clasped into his shoulders to restrain him from moving. Which is a good strategy. As moment Naruto felt her lips on his, he let out muffled shriek and tried to leap backward, which can't do said hands on his shoulders. There's no gentle in it, no holding back as the goddess lips tasting, chewing, and doing its best to brand her love lips as her own, at the same time with such hunger that it's rather amazing that the boy did not passed out yet. Lime times. Expect soft femdom and soft bondage, skip if you don't like lime. Though from how hot his face is and how his hands tremblingly sought to move hands on his shoulders, it can be expected that his passing out would be soon. MNNNN. Naruto groaned slightly in humiliation as he felt the goddess move to lie on top of him while he lay helpless in bed. Kaguya wasted no time in trailing her hands around his waist while continuing to kiss her beloved. Despite his best efforts, Naruto quickly felt as though his energy had run out. His lovely friend's tall form draped over his slender own, absolutely trapping any movement he could make. Except from his already shaking arms, which are now attempting to shove the goddess by the shoulders. As if not sensing any force from his push, one of Kaguya's sleeve-covered palm crawled into the godeling kimono, where began to gently trailing touch on his back. Obviously making the young face redder and make him let out short stifled gasp into her mouth. A cue for her to insert her tongue within her love-sweet cavern. Kaguya nearly reaches her climax in place as she wraps her larger tongue around his, tastes his grape and ramen mix flavor, and feels his moist, slippery, and obviously live tongue with her own. Here, the godeling made another muffled squeaking sound, his face so crimson that vapor was escaping. At the same moment his awareness began to fade, both from shame and lack of air. He assumed he would simply faint there and wake up the next day. But it seemed it's not going to happen as once the goddess felt his lack of air, she broke the kiss, trail of saliva connected their lips. Then lovingly she cradles his head into her kimono-covered bosom, causing him can only absorb her rich, yet enticing vanilla scents. He's hardly able to pant, as if he had battling against 5 Madara at the same time with nothing but ordinary sage mode. Is this what kiss felt like? He hadn't know, because he simply never kissed girl unless when said girl attempting to kill him. And that's too didn't employ any tongue play, or even if it had, it wouldn't have been as passionate as the kiss he just gave Kaguya. However, the question is why? Why did Kaguya give him a kiss? However, he didn't have any chance to ask, as the goddess in question, once understanding he has recovered, placed his head back on the bed again, her lips this time sinking into his defenseless pale white neck. Ah! Feeling the goddess' warm breath and gentle lips on his delicate neck, Naruto can't help but let out another small moan, so soft that it can be considered sensuous. And this successfully made Kaguya at first freeze, only to begin sucking with such intensity that Naruto feel as if he's going to be eaten by Kaguya. Given his lack of expertise, it was not surprising that Naruto started to struggle after his friend did something odd to him. Stop it, Kaguya street on. Alas, that was nothing but a groundless hope, as suddenly the goddess used her sleeve-covered palms to pinches her love unprotected nipples, hence his girl-like shocked moan. And fate chose to abandon him once more by causing Kaguya to fall, her hands softly opening her lovely kimono so that the world could see his bare chest. Staring on, Kaguya gazes at him as if her favorite feast are the one in front of her eyes. His face flushed, and he crossed one arm across his chest like a shamed virgin. Well, he is virgin, only not a female. Anyway, this sight didn't appear to stop Kaguya as it simply make her more turned on. It's seen from her flushing cheeks and hurried breath. She desires him. Right now, she really wants him. Suddenly, Energy flared from Kaguya as her hairs turned longer and moving like if alive tentacles. This sight startled the small god. Unfortunately for him, the moon goddess seized this opportunity as soon as possible. A huge bunch of hairs were wrapped and lashed around his 2 arms, pressing them above his head. Making Kaguya now can easily drink on the sight of his attractive chest. Drool dripped from the edge of her lips, at the same time she licked her lips in urgent hunger. As for Naruto himself, he feels conflicted. His hands can't move, cocooned by Kaguya hairs that silky in nature, and this, for some reason offer him wonderful feeling. Or maybe it because he felt the hairs in question sapping away his strength. Whichever it is, his arms refused to move except the smallest of movement that made him feel wonderful each time his buddy's hairs rubbing into his limbs. And so he can only squirm below Kaguya, half deviant and wanted nothing except get out. And other part appreciating the silky rubs each time his arms moving. Above him, Kaguya looks on with amused and lusty gaze, her throat feel dry. It's humorous to her that her cute adorable Naru didn't realize that his own body began turned on by her slow, but vigorous ministration. She wouldn't let him pass out. Not this night. The goddess leaned down, her lips nipped on one of the stiff nipples of Naruto, making him gasp at the feeling. Yet his gasp just spurred Kaguya to begin sucking his nipple much like what she had done to his neck minutes previously. She cherished the sound of his voice. Her arms continued to move. With her Naru cannot struggle anymore, it now freely down her kimono top portion, freeing her violet-colored bra. Her groin slowly humping and thrusting into her love self. Feeling this evidently, Naruto's face turned scarlet, at the same time he let out small charming mewl of perversion. Uncomfortably shifting the waist to avoid Kaguya's humping. Stop it, Kaguya, on. Moaning like a girl, Naruto resumed his struggle and began to squirm more below the goddess. But of course, Kaguya's strength is one thing that Naruto cannot exceed at the current time. Slurp, slurp, Naru, I want you, no, mnnn. Wet, slurping sound is the only sound can be heard following the exchange between the two. Kaguya's slurping sound is so loud that not even Naruto can hear his own groan. Each time make him felt as if his nipple being suctioned by her warm and wet lips, where she then may play with her soft tongue. No. DONMMMPPHH. Tired of her love aberrant, no matter how cute it made him. Kaguya moves upward and rape that lips of his with sheer hunger, surprising him and make him more agitated if it can. He attempted to look away with watery eyes, but her 2 sleeved palms tenderly clasped each of his cheeks, securing the small god face. He still refuses to open his mouth though. Kaguya sought to pierce his defense by licking his lovely lips quickly with her powerful tongue. Surprising Kaguya, although his lips trembling, her love still refused to open his beautiful cavern entrance. The goddess back off a bit, leaving her bewildered love panting. Her own eyes now filled with nothing but primitive lust. Naru, the little god shivered once he heard his goddess friend tone, but he have no time to talk as another batch of hairs quickly wrapped over his mouth and nose, forcing him to smell her feminine vanilla scent. You force me, if I can't have your mouth. I just make you cannot close that cutie instead. That was an odd line of reasoning. But Naruto cannot react with anything but faint sigh as his nose keeps sniffing Kaguya hairs, rendering his head dizzy and mushy. His body unconsciously wiggles softly below the goddess, having no energy anymore from how much her hairs absorb. And it seemed this was her aim since the start as her hairs surrounding the little god mouth unraveled herself, where Kaguya then easily dive into her love lips. Naruto can only utter a feeble, muted groan as he tastes his sweet cavern once more. Kaguya, please NNN. After breaking the kiss and leaving a trail of saliva between them, the goddess leaned into Naru's ear, her words full of lust and her breath heated. Please what, my Naru? While saying that, she's starting to fasten her thrust of groin. Going up and down, faster than before, enough to make her love below her began to gasping and panting again. Santo each thrust got much harder than before, and Kaguya found herself adoring each second of it, more so when her love let out charming moan that tickling her ears like a chiming bell. And despite the fact her Naru haven't disrobed his kimono lower part yet. Same like her, Kaguya discover herself still feels such a pleasure from simply feeling her love groin on her own. My Naru, the goddess fixed her push again, ignoring her scream for love. Then lowered her violet bra, freeing her enormous white breast with gentle pink areola that already stood hard, begging some attention. Seeing this, Naruto blushed frantically, then instantly closing his eyes. Just like his lips when he felt his friend dropped one of her breasts into his mouth. Please open your mouth, Naru. Naruto almost complied from how much true longing within the goddess' voice alone. But immediately he remembers what's in front of his mouth, he closed it more securely than before. He was so nervous that his entire body started to shake. Naru. This time it is more like a plea. Kaguya hips also began to fasten her thrust, making Naruto lips trembling, biting back a groan that want to break out. Upon witnessing this, Kaguya grinned lustfully while simultaneously quickening and intensifying her hip movements. Ooh, stop it kmnnph. With a pained grunt, Naruto pleaded for Kaguya to stop, only for her to view this as opportunity as fast. She forced her right breast into her love-opened mouth, silencing him and gave her a flash of pleasure from the vibrating of her Naru lips on her breast. Chomp. Mnnn. Yes, that's it, Naru hissed from ecstasy when her love biting her breast pretty hard, Kaguya's eyes filled with more frantic need. Her hips relentlessly plunging up and down into the little god's groin, causing his eyes grow wet from agony-filled joy. Mnnph. Yes, keep moaning, Naru, I'm close. The god in question just closed his eyes tightly, inwardly gritting his teeth to endure the pain on his groin. Small gentle sobs escaped his lips. Deep in her delight, too much. Kaguya didn't hear this and only keep going herself on her love. Her eyes were currently filled with nothing but insane passion for her darling and adorable Naru, but her breath was rough and her face was beautifully coated in red. Mnnnh, this is it, Naru. Kaguya gasped as she pulled her beloved's small head into her chest with both of her arms. Ah, she exclaimed. As one might expect from a goddess such as Kaguya, she screams beautifully when she's come. Unfortunately for her, Naruto didn't seem to care because he was too preoccupied with getting his bearings back when the numbing ache in his crotch started to go away as Kaguya started to slow down. I see. And Naru. Kaguya's sudden frightened voice make Naruto flutter his eyes open and gaze up to her with part embarrassed, half-inquiring look. Why are you crying? Gently, Kaguya palm clasped the deity cheek and swiped the tears of her affection. Her anxious expression caused Naruto to turn away and realize that he was actually crying due to the ache in his crotch. It hurt Kaguya. With the goddess's breast no longer on his mouth, Naruto said that. Soft sob came from his lips. Kaguya was horrified to hear this. Never in her thoughts she ever wanted to hurt him. Oh, yes, she want to bound him up while she have her way with him, at the same time he's struggling on his binding. However, she genuinely wants him to experience pleasure rather than agony. Kaguya leaned down and gave her love cheek a tender kiss, feeling sad and disappointed in herself, getting his large, tearful eyes to focus on her. SSSSH, I'm sorry Naru, I'll be gentle now. The little primordial just want to say anything but abruptly, Kaguya once more hushed him with a passionate kiss. Gasp. The former blonde let out a tiny, surprised gasp into the goddess' mouth as he felt a hand brush his inner thigh. A hint for her to snake her tongue inside and began to play with his, conquering the cute little appendage almost immediately. There's no pain this time. And the former Jinchuriki of Kyuubi quickly find himself moaning into the goddess' mouth, his body quivering from ecstasy from the passionate kiss alone. Mmmmmnn. Kaguya secretly swooned at her sweet, lovable groan and wanted nothing more than to get hard with him once more. But now understood this as his first time, thus his body going to be very sensitive both from pleasure and pain, she performing this as gently as she could. No way she make him suffer while her intention is to make him feel cherished. Kaguya's hand slowly down the boy's pants as they continued to kiss, revealing his adorable cotton underwear with a bulge in front. Naru penis. It's my Naru adorable penis. Squealing inside, Kaguya's eyes got a pink heart inside. The youngster in question flinched and opened his eyes wide when she touched the cloth-covered genitalia as tenderly as she could. And no, don't dmmnnn. Break the kiss immediately by facing the other direction, Naruto tried to stop his friend. Only for her to bit and sucking on his earlobe, all the while making dirty slurping sound. Stopping the small primitive sentence halfway. And realizing now is the time, Kaguya lowered his underwear. His white, pink-headed penis jerked out from its limit, making the owner blushing extremely hard, to the point of crimson. As for Kaguya, it's so cute. Oh my. It's quivering. Blood flowed from the goddess' nose. Her eyes focused intensely at her love-cute penis, making Naruto become uncomfortable and crossed his legs in attempt to cover at least some part of his crotch. It failed spectacularly, as Kaguya see this as more sexy than before. More blood was seen as it trickled down from her nose. Seeing her look, Naruto has acute, wide eyes with fright. And with that, something shattered within Kaguya. It should, but curiously, Kaguya just comforted him with a guarded, loving grin. SSSSSH, it will be okay Naru. Kaguya's silk garments tickled the boy's inner thighs, causing him to tremble with ecstasy as she made sure her love penis was swallowed by the sleeve hole. And when it swallowed enough, she held the lovely penis with her soft, feminine hand. Naruto let out loud gasp here, and thinking it as cue, Kaguya proceeded to pump her grabbing hand up and down, all the while she began to blow his ear again to offer him maximum pleasure. His low sigh, soft panting, sweaty face, even from how his hair's sparkling from the moonlight, everything honestly make Kaguya entranced. He's so wonderful, that's what her mind viewed him as. The sound that can be heard within is only the primeval faint grunt for several minutes, and at this time he already has his sight filled with black from overpleasure. He's very sensitive. Kaguya decided to give him the final shove while considering that. Leaned toward his ear once again, she gave it gently lick, then whisper. Come for me Naru. Cannot hold himself back, Naruto just do that. His body jolt forcefully, mouth slightly opened in faint, almost silent moan as rope after rope of white substance filled the goddess' cupped palm. It took the tiny primeval at least a minute to slow his frantic breathing, and when he was able to focus again, his face was flushed. It because he can watch Kaguya sucking clean her long fingers with such hunger to the point practically mad. The sight is warm. However, he is aware that he is not a pervert and has no intention of becoming one. Naruto shuts his eyes. Only to expand it wide as he felt his male part led into something soft. Stop it Kaguya. No more in her crazy lust mood. Kaguya did pause just as she want to impale herself with her love spear. Then looked at him with innocent seeming Byakugan, full of question. I'm not ready yet, please stop. Kaguya at first looked hesitant, but seeing her cute Naru below looking at her with his huge, begging eyes, in the end she gave in. Soft nod from Kaguya is all Naruto get, as he then sigh in relief. At the same moment the goddess hairs detached herself from his arms, freeing them. Lime end. Thank you, and sorry Kaguya, I just, not ready yet. He didn't even know Kaguya feel like that toward him. And while it actually makes him hurried and warm in chest, everything just too sudden for him. He needed time to process the new information concerning Kaguya's feelings. Anything for you Naru. Kaguya comprehend. Her Naru is just 17 years old, and even if the other that same age as him longing after opposite gender body, her Naru is not. He is pure, despite his damaged history, despite entering into war at young age, experiencing something that should not be done by someone his age, and officially became the leader for his town, a hero for the whole globe. He still had his naive heart, innocent intellect, but more significantly, he never experienced love. The goddess' quiet, caring voice offered warmth toward the erstwhile blonde, as he then gained modest pink color on his cheek. His hands hesitantly gripped the woman's kimono. She reciprocated by dragging him into her body, resting his face on her bare bosom, her own face atop of his head, inhaling his alluring grapefruit aroma. Flustered more, Naruto just wrapped his own hands around the goddess' waist and buried his face in her enormous breast, knowing it must be quite crimson at the moment. Until they both go to sleep, the two simply remain in that state. XXXXXX break XXXXXX. Tomorrow, the time has come, day where they at last learn their instructor heritage, and so, Serzek and pals can't help but feel thrilled. Standing in the middle of the clearing along with Gabriel and Michael, the four devils waiting their teacher that for some reason took his time. Well, Matt, it's just 5 minutes. It was at that moment Naruto came in front of them. His face carved in serious gaze. His 6 pupils took a step back when they saw this serious expression that lacked any adorableness. The devils gulped, because their supreme leader Lucifer had this kind of look before the conflict. When their Lord Father is upset with another seraphim, the angels consider him. Naruto smirked softly as he saw their reaction, and the strain instantly vanished. His pupils instantly exhaled deeply, not realizing that they were holding their breath. Good, you 6 notice the different. Serzek and Falbium as the one gave him, are you insane look, as if to say, who the heck can't notice that? And Naruto merely chuckled a little. You 4 has come so far, that's why you now can felt the experienced person that let out their seriousness 100%. As for Michael and Gabriel, they both are angel, they're more sharp in reading someone's heart than you four. The six simply nodded, still not understanding the idea. Seeing this, Naruto grinned at the four devils, more specifically. Seraphal, creating the blanket, has a pink on her cheeks. Sarah-chan, the one I will teach you is my special sensory ability to sense negative emotion that cannot be blocked by any mean. This will be hard. Sensing negative emotions, that's the first time they have heard such skill exist. But nobody except Ajuka and Seraphal know all the possible she might do with such talent, as Seraphal nodded gleefully. Negative emotions include intent to injure, which implies once she knows this, she can never be ambushed by anyone. Seeing his female student buried in her own thought, Naruto glanced to his slow, but determinate devil student, Falbium. I am going to teach you two things, Baldi. While a bit triggered by his nickname, Falbium can't help but rub his palms from giddiness. One is to think outside the box and become unpredictable. Ajuka seemed jealous here, wanting to have that one, noticed by Falbium, that become more giddy. The second is to mold your energy with such control that you can just spam any technique to destroy mountain without being tired. Sir is the one whined here. He ought to have that one, as it was blasphemous. Notice he make his two pals envious, instead calming them, Falbium decide to rub it in their face by laughing so loud. Mawahahahaha. Here, Sir and Ajuka appear to really want to choke their black-haired pal, but Naruto merely grinned amusedly. Ignoring the chuckle after several seconds, Naruto glanced at Ajuka, with the air of Astaroth immediately straightened his posture once he realized this. Seals. With creation of all thing, Naruto made a paper and ink brush in both hand. Is an equation within the equation itself. Here, Ajuka seemed curious, as his teacher began to write in the paper with such dexterity, and within 2 seconds, he's done and show it to Ajuka that becomes speechless. Such lovely writing, which mainly will take people to do maybe 2 hours to accomplish so. Though he's curious what is the writing for, Naruto threw the paper to his left after realizing this. The paper suddenly stopped mid-air, then began to crackle with purple lightning. A black hole slowly but surely opened. No, it's a portal, toward the underworld. Specifically behind the seat of Lucifer, where everyone can see the supreme leader of underworld at the moment buried his face on the paperwork. Michael and Gabriel froze, but Naruto only take a stone, and throw it into the portal. Thunk. ... and smacked the silverette skull. ... Okay, who the fuck do that? When Lucifer rose fiercely, this time not only the angels froze, even the 4 devils froze along in dread. But for some reason, Lucifer didn't discover the portal and merely keep searching about. And at that point, Ajuka stared at his teacher with realization and wonder look. It's a one-side portal, sensei. The other 5 relaxed when their teacher nodded with a warm grin. Sealing art, or Fuinjutsu, is the one you will learn, Ajuka. Make another paper. Naruto swiftly write something and throw it into the portal second later, causing Lucifer's seat freeze in the block of ice. And disregarding the scream of, "My throne," Naruto smiled at his green-haired devil student. The limit is the user's own imagination. You could seal ice, fire, house, person, space and time, even the reality itself if you have talent. Hearing that from his teacher that he already thought like his own father, Ajuka eyes shaking, disregarding Falbium mutter of, "Damn lucky." He wanted to declare he's not worthy, or anything, so his master gives such power maybe to Sir instead. Because he is aware that having such power would eventually corrupt him. But he can't say that. Not when his teacher continued staring at him with such love and trust. So gulping some accumulated saliva, with sad heart Ajuka bent his head, delighted from his teacher faith in him, but a bit shaken because his dread of become a corrupt person. Why your trust won't be misplaced. Smiling at Ajuka for the last time, Naruto glanced to his last devil student. Sir already had his hands clasped behind his back and was grinning broadly. Naruto is silent, as if unsure of himself. And thinking it may be because he will learn something more badass, Sir grin went broader. The redhead in question bated his breath, saying, "Chilly head. For now you join Falbium to control your power of destruction better." What? Why? Cry of Sir rapidly disrupted the peace in the clearing, making Naruto sent an invisible flick toward his red-haired student forehead. Ow, you're too loud, Baka. With Sir gripping his head in anguish, Naruto gained a delicate pout and close his eyes, then absorb minimal quantity of nature energy. ... His body quickly shaking, seen by his classmates that get anxious. The small primordial immediately eliminate the energy from his body and take a long breath. Then gazed at Serzek. You see Serzek, while it's true you also need more practice in control first. The reason I can't teach you senjutsu yet is because it held too much malice, enough for you to immediately attack anyone in sight. Then why teach him sensei? The race can use senjutsu safely from what I know is only two, which is a Kyuubi Kitsune and Nekosho. Naruto frown increased here as he takes a glimpse at his green-haired student that just mentioned it. Because supposedly, I can do that too. How? Ajuka seemed really surprised here, almost in disbelief. His best buddy was crying and shouting something about control and suck, but he ignored her. Because I'm awesome, of course. Ajuka's sweat dropped. He should have guessed that one. Anyway, blur appear around the primordial that began to walk away, and second after, 6 exact clones of him can be seen, each focused on each of them, making his angel, niece, grow a wide eyes. Today you all training with my clones, cause I need to do something, bye bye TT Ibeo. The devils sigh, a bit put off. But they knew, they already take much of their instructor time as it is. So there's no surprise if there's a day where he merely leave them with his clones. After all, he has a life of his own. And what can they do as his students but make sure he's happy when he returns? The devils smile at their teacher's clone, resolve shining in their eyes. They're prepared. XXXXXX break XXXXXX. With Naruto. His green-haired learner is right when he declared only a Kyuubi and Nekosho can use senjutsu. But to Naruto, he missed one more. That is God with nature domain. He was once informed by Yahweh that he possessed 16 domains, all of which were dormant and had not yet been awakened. And Naruto understands what they are. From the Bijus, 9. 5 of the elemental lessons he learnt as a human were reinforced as he transformed into the new Jubi. He and Sasuke's are the final 2. But inside these 16, there is no such thing as the nature domain, and this. The new primal bit his lip in exasperation. What? The god of nature, Jubi. If he cannot even absorb tiniest bit of nature energy. There's too much hate in the nature, and it might even corrupt him if he aren't careful. Naruto by now already understood, the reason he's not corrupted from hate in elemental nation is because his contract with Toad is utilized as filter for the darkness within when he employed senjutsu. His regard for the first Hokage increased significantly as a result. For he, a god fight with such a thing, and yet Hashirama Senju only stood for a second in nature clutch into him like home, giving the man a tremendous power boost. Humans are incredibly talented. He shook his head at his god mentality. Naruto makes thousands shadow clones around the mountain feet. Nature is combined form of 5 element in its purest form, that is what Kaguya explained to him. So, if he ever wants to discover his sage mode once again, he needs to awaken the 5 elements domain first and master them. It takes several hundreds years for gods to dominate their domain. And when they do, it was only then they earned their actual genuine title. After all, what kind of title is God of Messenger? Meh, he must be God of Wind in training, that Hermes man. However, Naruto has no intention of remaining dormant for much longer than a few hundred years. He is only 17 and he is fed up with war. He aspires to be a true god. Several hundreds. He only need at least a week to master this one. Of that, he knows. He did had his cheat skill after all. 3,600 clones equates to 10 years of training in a single day, or 70 years of complete training in a week. He must have received his fantastic title by then. Cage Bunshin is just that badass. XXXXXX break XXXXXX. That night, his body aching, each second pulsing with pain that stretched from his temples into his toes. His thoughts in chaos, memories after memories jumbling away so much that his mind forced himself to think about nothing. He ought to have been aware that Cage Bunshin is a forbidden technique for good reason, and not just because it costs chakra, but also because it might trigger a mental breakdown if too many memories are processed. But honestly, he never have this difficulty, simply because Kurama is there, helping to restore his mind and sometimes arranging his newly gained memories. God damn it, sweat broke off his cheeks, and the primeval god found himself panting for breath. This was the sight that welcomed Kaguya once she entered their bedroom. Naru. At first it was hurt, but Naruto soon found himself calm as Kaguya carried him and cradled his body like a baby. The young primordial can't resist cuddling up against the softness of her sleeve as it wrapped around his body like a blanket. "My Naru, What happened? Did someone hurt you? If yes, tell me who is it. Because I will teach them proper knowledge about pain. However, Naruto only had a quiet, gentle smile on his face. Kaguya's concern for him is adorable. Blush immediately come on his face, understand what just he think about. So in the end he just end up burying his face against his friend bosom to cover his reddened face. It's alright Kaguya-chan, I just trying something in my training. I see ya, eh? They fell into comfortable silence then, with Naruto finding warmth in his former enemy's embrace. After at least 30 minutes, Naruto finally broke their embrace and gave Kaguya a sweet grin. I'm alright now, Anda Uma-T, thanks for the hugs. At his last words, pink blush appears on his cheeks, one that make Kaguya grins back sweetly, although of course, with no small bit of well-hidden passion in her eyes. Anything for you, my Naru. At that, Naruto started to stammer. Kaguya's captivating laugh, which causes Naruto to sulk, comes next. Today is a wonderful day though somehow, Naruto know, soon all of this going to end. He simply prayed that his gut sense is mistaken. Yo guys, it's RyugaXD. You already know YouTube has its limit size, so if you want to see the spicier, uncensored, and exclusive stuff I can't post here, check out my Patreon. That's where I drop all my 18+ lemon content, early uploads, and more. Links in the description. Come join the fun.